All right. Are we up? I think we are. Let's see if I can move this a little bit better. Hey guys, how are we doing today? It's good to see you. Let's take a look at the chat. Oh my gosh, it's Chrissy Meow. How you doing? It's good to see you, Chai girl. I'm gonna call you Jills from now on. Jesus is Lord and Savior, because I feel like if I abbreviate it down to Jesus, it's not quite the same thing. Anna Smith, thanks again. Chai girl, again, thank you very much to the mods and stuff like that. So I guess we'll do like maybe an hour or two show today, something like that. Get some chat, because there's a couple things I did want to chat about. So we'll just give it another moment and let a couple people in. I have noticed by looking at the analytics and stuff that the likes, they do help. They do help. I'm not one of those people that ask, like, smash that like button. I can't stand that stuff. But if you don't mind giving a little bit of a bump, just so that it can bump it up in the algorithms, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Hi, Lily T. And sorry to those that I missed, Twanger. You'll notice that almost everybody has a wrench, because back in the bunker chat there, we share links, and if you're there for long enough, I'll usually give you a link, or I'll give you a wrench or whatnot. Quick reminder: as long as nobody's being ridiculous, no need to ban anyone or whatever like that. It's totally fine. Hi, Jewel. It's good to see you. Wow. I'm sporting my cheeky red and black because that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let me get this off, actually. Drive me nuts. Yeah, Lily T. Actually, you have had you had it a while ago. I don't think I ever took it off you. And same thing with Chrissy Meow. So yeah, NOI, good to see you. You had really great comments, and I would love to see more of it. I gotta say, it was very insightful, and I will all take into account what you're saying, because yeah, absolutely, we can't just idolize people. Oranthi, good to see you. Or Orianthi? Is that, am I pronouncing that right? Hey, no sweat. We're getting really, really close to the point where, like, I won't even be needed anymore. So I think that's the best I could hope for, to be honest. You guys are going to be able to, do your own thing and pick up the torch. Almost there, guys. Bear in mind. My kitty is not here today. He's actually a little bit bloated. I don't know if anybody wants to tell me about it. He's a little tiny cat, and I've been kind of feeding him a little bit too much over this whole holiday or something. He got a little bit of bloating on him. So I'm a bit worried. Maybe it's like a bacterial infection or anything, but he seems pretty, like, he's happy, and but he's just eating. I'm wondering if, like, some of the stuff that I gave him might have gave him like a sugar addiction or something. I don't know. I feel really bad, but yeah, he's just out chilling. He doesn't want to show he's fat. That's what's going on. And if you don't mind just giving it one little more bump of the likes just before I start up, I think we can get this to 20, and then it should snowball from there to get to enough people. And that's basically all I need. I don't need to shill or beg for likes or anything like that. Just to get to enough people so that the information can start disseminating efficiently. And I thank you very much. I really do. Christiane, it's good to see you. Christiane, still haven't figured out how to pronounce it either. No, Chai, that's not the case. He's doing pretty well on that. he otherwise seems perfectly fine. It's just a little bloated. So I'm just portioning him out, see if that bloat goes away, and if not, I'm gonna have to take him to the vet. Purple Haze. I don't know if it's the first time that I've seen you, but it's great to see you. Miralax, I tell you what, Chai, why don't you remind me about that after the show? Because to copy and paste and stuff can really uh, take up the memory on this poor little computer. Listen, guys. I know this isn't the best quality, but you got to give this poor little girl some credit here. It's like a $300 HP. Probably got like 2 GB of memory. You got to give it credit. She's trucking pretty well for what she's got under the hood. Don't give Kitty tap water. Maybe that's it. Hi, Chris Jones. Okay, I think we'll move on from here and start getting this show on the road. First thing is, I guess, my findings from today. So I had a few calls that I made. First one was to the funeral home that you can now verify for yourselves. If you call during the 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time there, you'll be able to reach someone in the archives. Now, when I called, they could not give me much information, okay? And that's due to privacy concerns from what I see. But I can tell you what I know. They were able to tell me that there is an account there and that there are 2 people that are authorized to ask questions and their immediate family members. I don't want to get into specifics as to who they are because I don't think that there's a need to contact them. If you can call the funeral home, I think that you'll be able to get that information to confirm. I think I'm confident enough after that call when they told me that they have him as an account on file. And also the call before that I told you about where he said that there was a note saying cremated when I can't find it on the obituary. And from what I can tell, the person I was speaking with yesterday was actually a third-party caller. So they probably weren't even in the funeral home itself. They were just going based on the information that they had in the file. So with this totality of evidence, I would have to conclude a high probability that he is in fact passed. You don't need me to do it for you. I think that you can actually do it yourself at this point. Come to your closure and start moving on, at least to some extent, because I think that there's more important things that are at play here. The aneurysm thing is, I think this is one thing that, like, I don't know. I think they wanted you to get stuck on the whole Jeff C thing, to not even talk about the aneurysms for one, because we are seeing a lot of people in the news, especially around that time that he passed, that had sudden aneurysms, including politicians that were against maybe the reset stuff. Mike Reese was one of them who had a brain aneurysm. I'm pretty sure he was 40 years old, very young man, and he's gone now. He also went against the new order of things, and he's gone now as well, this politician. And I think even Dr. Dre, he had some sort of brain aneurysm as well. When I was looking this up there yesterday, and there's all these news articles that are treating brain aneurysms as if it's a new fad. Like it's like Dr. Dre he had a brain aneurysm and he's okay, but it seems like this is this is happening a lot, and now we got to talk about it. It's like it's almost like it's a new fashion. So I think that's something that it's worthwhile to look into. Maybe not so much to dwell on, because it could be under that plausible deniability. I mean, we can't say for sure that there was something that induces a brain aneurysm just yet, unless someone from the inside would come out and talk about that. So I guess bear that in mind when you're looking these things up. But what a freaking coincidence, This is an extreme heart issues as well. We sudden heart failures and things like that of people that are way too young to be having this kind of stuff. This is happening. This is, it's suspicious to say the least. Maybe it's all a coincidence, but I think it's quite interesting how that's not. You know, it just came out of nowhere. Everybody's getting it now, like it's a new fad, right? That's pretty crazy. Tila Tequila, did she have a brain aneurysm? I'm not sure, but she also was talking about problems in the entertainment industry. That's for sure. I remember that. How well? Dr. Dre's not dead. I'm pretty sure. I think he survived whatever it is. But Dr. Dre, I mean, he's got to be in his 50s. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure like when he picked up Eminem, he was like 30 something. So he's getting up there now. But again, just like very, very interesting how these are all popping up recently. For whatever reason that is, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'd like maybe to look into possible causes. I've heard, the whole 5G thing. So yeah, I think these are probably the things that we kind of need to move on to and talk about. But of course, it's important with Jeff. I understand that. So I would recommend looking up Kane Federley. That is the funeral home that is there, and you could call them yourself and ask. When I was like pushing for questions on obituary dates and stuff like that, she was like, "Listen, there's something on file." Okay, like she couldn't tell me anything about it, but like it got to the point. It was like, "Are you seriously questioning?" You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if the funeral home, which is legit, it's a legit funeral home. I'm not sure if they would be in on a conspiracy. Stranger things maybe have happened, but I think we're at a certain point here now that there's confirmation. And I will point out again that this confirmation could have happened weeks ago had whomever had the call of the coroner had just released that. And the excuse of protecting the family, yes, it's important not to bother the family, but the bad folks that are in this movement, they know already, like they know how to find people. And Jeffrey, like the name Cleveland was out there. Like we knew that. And the people that are looking for closure are not just some crazy kooky people. I've seen a lot of people that were worried. They, and maybe had hope that he was gone or that he wasn't gone and there was something you could do to help. And the fact that that was denied was pretty bad. I'd like to talk about a little bit more of it too, because the way that it's been handled by these groups, like of course there's more than one motive to do so. There's profit, there's want to protect, there's there's selfish gain, and then there's noble endeavors as well, or at least what they consider to be noble. I think that, like I said before, just because you think it's noble doesn't mean that you're actually helping anything. And to take up some sort of authority that you alone and your inner circle alone is worthy of this information and no one else is, I think that would probably cause more suspicion and a wave of calls that probably would have never happened or would have already ceased by now. One thing I want to mention, listen, the obituary is a little bit off, especially from what I'm seeing about the control on comments. I don't think there would be a problem if you went there and talked about how Jeff could have enlightened you to certain things, and that's very special. It's one of a kind for some people, right? And I think that the family would love to hear that, because chances are they probably didn't understand so much. And I think sending friendly messages, like especially through the obituary, I don't see a problem with that. I'm not talking about putting down conspiracy theories. I'm talking about that you thank him for what he did. We don't need to forget his work just because, to some it might be shameful. And I don't think you should let these people shame you anymore. I've seen the shills and the trolls talking about how Jeff is, they're not holding the information properly and stuff like that. I mean, like, these people, they truly believe that you have the authority, or that they have the authority to tell you what you deserve to know. Like Jack Nicholson in The Firm, you can't handle the truth. You know, this is like, get out of here, guys. Like, you're grifter material, like, to the max. Yeah, I've seen, like, they're like, had you been on Discord, I've seen this from a couple commenters. Had you been on Discord, you might have gotten some of this information. Well, you know what? Discord is a much more private. It's new. It was always a gaming thing up until recently. You only used it to talk to other gamers, and now it's gotten a little bit. There's other things. It's other things that it's used for, because it used to be quite useless. But if you've ever opened it, you realize how bloated the software is with spyware, and that it's owned by Tencent, which is a Chinese company. So I would highly recommend not letting them funnel you into Discord, because if you do, chances are your information is going to be gathered by people that you don't want gathering it. And then there's the hierarchy as well. Yeah, it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. It's a great control mechanism. And if you just posted the information, I mean, like, you just posted it, you wouldn't have to go through these channels. Just let the people do what they want. That's all that needs to be done. So yeah, we'll move on to another thing that I was talking about. There was Pantifa is in the house, guys. I'm almost sure of it at this point. It's all under plausible deniability, but you got to think about this. They astroturf everything. Astroturf being they pretend to be grassroots, but it's organized BS. And every single thing, like, that's what Gamergate was about, right? It was about Antifa infiltrating that, and they have these circles, and they have this hierarchy, and the new reviewers, as long as they were on the casting couch with the critics, they would get ahead, and as long as you were on their good side. So they try to usurp everything and create all these hierarchies and stuff, and they don't really, they reject merit, and they just bring in whatever agrees with them. Is TMF Jason A fellow on? I don't know. We have talked about that before in inner circles. I think you might be on for something, but I don't know. So let's talk about Antifa. I want to give you a couple things here that I was seeing, and maybe this could help you actually to start smoking these people out. So I'm going to give you Exhibit A first. I'll keep the live chat open for the people watching in not live. Okay, so we have that link there. That's Imager. It's pretty mainstream, so I just uploaded it there. Don't worry. And if you go there, you're going to see a conversation there that I had with a werewolf. It was a comment section. And as you can see, you should name names instead of perpetrating an ambiguous term like these guys. It's an age-old tactic of deception. I guess he's calling me of using too broad a stroke. And I'm pretty sure if you actually go into my videos over the past few days, you would know that I don't just lump everybody together. I think there's different motives. So, I mean, I just disregarded that part. But I did have my suspicions beforehand. So I answered, and this is the specific thing, and I'll tell you why I did this. Sounds like some projection to me, but okay, that's nothing. But it's what's underlined there is the eat the rich. Eat the rich is it's a phrase that is not commonly used by normal people or people with intelligence or anybody that understands the economy. There's only so many rich people that you could eat before these people stop producing, and they are the main producers. So this is basically used by communists that don't understand the economy, and specifically, it's used in activist movement or activist groups, because it is a term of radicalization. You believe that you have authority over someone to take their, because they're obviously not talking about cannibalism. What they're talking about is taking their means of production. It's quite, no one's telling you to actually eat them. Right. So I put there's all these phrases that are very mindless and basically just emotion invoking. It makes you feel like you have power to say, we're going to eat the rich, you know, especially if you're a commie. So basically, I think, in my opinion, he fell for this trap. I put that out there to see because I had a feeling that something I was seeing was a little bit not right. So immediately he just he completely ignores everything he was saying before, and he's, yes, I agree. If you don't call them out, you are in fact protecting them. Good call, man. To which I was like, yes, Pantifa, too easy to smoke you guys out. And I think I got a feeling that this is the case. You're looking at a Pantifa that's trying to infiltrate the movement right here. And I think it's reflective in a lot of his videos. He shouldn't hurt the families. And I'll give you a second link on that because what I did after, one sec. That's the second exhibit there. And then so what I did, I took a picture of how to smoke out Antifa, and I gave the 3 steps to do so. You need to learn these phrases that they're talking about, like to eat the rich. Another good one is ACAB, which is the all cops are bees, like illegitimate sons, let's say. And that's been a little bit more mainstream now, so that most people click onto that. So you might see something like 1312 because in gematria it's ACAB is 1312. So like these little symbols is what they do because they try and infiltrate stuff, right? Most of the time they have some sort of centralization, usually a Discord or a Telegram, something like that. And the way that, like, if they're fighting each other, what they do is if they think that they're one of their own, right, they'll give out one of those signals, and they're like, oh, hey, no, that's cool, I'm one of you, don't worry, move on, right? This is what they do. They have to, because it's their job to come into all of these circles wherever it is. It's in everything, sports, music, everything. And they need to do this. They're obligated to try and spread their cancerous ideology. And so they're easy to catch. They're predictable, right? So when you say these kind of things, they will try to satiate that insatiable desire to try and astroturf you. So that's what I think is going on there. Once I showed that, he wasn't very happy about that. And you can see there, I was mocking you, idiot. This is literally the worst kind of twoofa that I've seen in a while. Apparently I hurt his feelings too. Okay. Later, dude, I'm out. To which I was just like, bye, Pantifa. So I don't know where my feelings were actually hurt. I wasn't too... Actually, I was kind of happy because I had my suspicions, and I had a feeling that I was going to catch him like that. And maybe I didn't. This is all plausibly deniable. That's how they work under, right? But if you go back to that first imager link that I gave you, it doesn't look like it was mocking to me. It looked very much like he was it was more like, oh, sorry, dude. Sorry, fellow Pantifa. Let's go eat the rich together. That's what it came off to me. I don't know, you know. So yeah, you got to think about it. You got to think about it. I mean, of all, you guys were essentially the first red pills. You're this community, and I think that spread on to MAGA in a more mainstream route. I think if you go to places like Donald.win and stuff like that, and you talk about the questionable events, they're pretty right along with you. A lot of people. And yeah, I got a feeling that there's a way to smoke these guys out, and that's probably the greatest way to do so. Just let their tactics work against themselves, and then you just start exposing them. So my recommendation is keep a look at that Venn guy, or I Am a Werewolf. Maybe listen to what he's saying in his name to you, by the way, in Venanimous. The Anonymous. Let's talk about Anonymous. Who's that based on? Guy Fawkes, right? That was the bombing of the Parliament, the British Parliament, way back when. Who was the king of that time? Do you remember? It was King James. What did King James do? They were in the middle of writing the English Bible. And if you look into the Guy Fawkes bombing and the people that were involved with it, you may just find yourself some Jesuit priests. And so I've never, well, maybe I was at first when I didn't really get what was kind of going on here. I wouldn't trust anybody with an anonymous mask in the first place, because that's basically infiltrated commie garbage at this moment. I think if it was pure at one point, it's not now. And you should listen to what he's saying to you. Will he talk? He might talk about Catholics. Will he talk about Jesuits? Will he talk about China? Will he talk about ISIS? How they're working together? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is important. And I think a lot of people have dropped the ball on this. A lot of woofers, as he likes to call them, have dropped the ball. And let me talk about that, by the way, too. I mean, to me, it really looks like that the twoofa, that was all it took was one little comment just to kind of pick at him. And immediately he starts mocking you guys. I don't think he was mocking me. I think he was mocking you and you twoofers out there. One sec, let me get back. Things are going to have to load up. And sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat for the past moment or so because I was looking at the exhibits and things like that. So just bear with me, and I'll go through them there. But yeah, there's no reason to believe that Antifa is not infiltrating, or those types of people, because you guys were the first beacon, and you guys pushed hard, and you were committed to what you did, and it got to the mainstream, I think. And I think some people with power had clicked into this, and they said that they're not going to put up with this either. And to be honest, maybe my optimistic view is that this is what the Trump thing is. I hope anyways, it's not a deception. It may very well be, I understand. But from what I see is that you guys have been vindicated by a lot of what we're hearing on the inside, that things have been faked. And you should be proud of yourselves for that. But at the same time, you should realize that whenever there's a free, open discourse of ideas, these people are going to try and infiltrate that and command it. They want to create that hierarchy. So while I don't think that everybody in this inner circle or whatever is Antifa, I'm not trying to say that. I'm thinking that there's probably, a couple here and there pushing certain things. And hopefully the actual grassroots of the movement, the people who are legitimately here to find and spread truth, they're hoping that that the regular people will pick up on it. So I think that's, and of course the grifters to pick up on it, and they're much easier to control. Like these people that are they're doing pretty well for themselves, making a good bit of money. They might be mocking you behind, but Antifa's mocking them. let's put it this way: the Truth Media Revolutions and the KJ Osbornes of the world, they're not the brightest. They are there for themselves, and when you're there for yourself, you're predictable, and you'll basically do whatever best suits your interest. Right? I saw something very quickly in chat about shilling and stuff like that. I saw a really good quote, and it might have even been under a Jeff C tweet or something like that, but it was really good. It was a play on another phrase, and it was, you either die exposing the truth, or you live long enough to see yourself become a grifter. And it's possible that that's the case. Indeed. I think the longer you stay here, the more you realize that you keep speaking truth, and they're going to keep hitting that bell on you. And you can't be afraid of that. If you are afraid of that, you're manipulative, or sorry, not manipulative. You're being manipulated. You will be manipulated. You will say things that are more mainstream because you don't want to get kicked off and ruin this investment of yours, the a lot of time and money, or resources or whatever, all of this stuff, it has a cost to yourself. And some people want to do it for the sake of simply telling the truth, and some people are here for themselves. And that's natural, right? And was there another topic? I think that's all good for that there, and we can start talking about the conversation we're having there. But yeah, one thing that I really, really want to stress is trying to learn what's going on with this anarcho-communist crap, and start learning their phrases. And you'll be able to pick up on these people because they can't help themselves. Like, at some point or another, they're going to call America a democracy, or start pushing the very same things that Antifa is doing in all these groups, right? So if you study these guys, you'll be able to see the transfer. And they're not intelligent enough to, I mean, again, they don't understand supply and demand. They're not intelligent enough to fool you that much. And they're usually quite effeminate. And I'm not saying I'm macho man here with my 4-inch wrists that I'm rocking at the moment. I'm not saying that. But you can see a difference between not being a macho man and being incredibly effeminate, and you're trying to say that you're here for the truth and white right wingerness and stuff like that. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say too, ladies. My goodness, I was looking at the analytics for this channel, and 5 years ago when I was doing these videos, this community was a sausage fest. like it was probably somewhere in that range of 10 to 25% were women. And now when I looked at the analytics, provided that the information is somewhat accurate compared to before, we're looking at like 60% women as opposed to men. Like, you guys are kicking butt. You guys woke up, and it's really cool. And I was really happily surprised to see that, because we got to work together, and they are trying to split people up on every single divide possible: race, gender, blah, 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 whether or not race or gender is a thing, whether or not that's a thing, like communism, all that stuff. They're trying to divide you. And it's great to see, both sides come together. And what's really great to see is because I think in general, guys are more willing to take a chance, right? Whereas girls, and again, in general, okay, don't get me wrong, people are people, but the way it kind of works is that a guy strives to impress a girl, and that comes out in taking a lot of risks, and they don't mind looking stupid if they can get that girl at the end of the day. That's just how our genetics work, I guess. Whereas the girl has the social thing is so important, and shame can be possibly a lot more effective on in general. So I think that there's been a barrier that has been breached, and women aren't afraid to call things out anymore, and that's super cool. I was delighted to see that, because I thought we were always going to be a sausage fest. Okay, give me one moment. I'm gonna go scroll up because there's probably a whole bunch of questions. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, so give me a moment to buffer, and we'll start going through the chat. Wonderland Wanderer says, so did you actually meet Jeff or not? Yes, I've said this a good few times. Maybe I'll make like a, I don't know, like a 30-second video of my, what do you call it, affidavit, just for you guys. Yes, I met him 2014. I don't remember the exact day, but I was in Montreal from September to October of that time, just before I moved to Quebec City. And I met him. I went to, I was at Police State Radios, and he came over as well. Jeff came over as well, and we met, and all in the same room together, we did a live stream, and it was super fun. Like, it was like kind of what I wanted to do since I first started, or first started watching, was like, oh my gosh, it was so cool to like, just, shoot the sugar with him, It's not a question, but I'm going to read this out anyways. Max Resistance and FPRN Network of 2015 comprised of Red Pill Revolution, aka TMF, Press Reset Earth, KJ Osborne, Dabu 7, Enter the Stars, and unfortunately, Free Radio Revolution. So yeah, it was quite the organization. You might want to look into that. And one thing I forgot to talk about yesterday when I was talking about this was it wasn't too long before I started getting I forget what the actual gold company was, but you know, like those like you buy the small bits of gold, right? And like they criminally overcharge you, really. I remember the guy with the skull and like it was a yellow, maybe a miner hat. It was a skull. That was his logo. I forget his name. I'm sorry, but yeah, he tried to get me to start shilling that, and this was like maybe a week in. He seemed like a nice guy. Maybe he was just a nice guy and he was just trying to help out a business. But I was just like, yeah, I've never heard you guys talk about this before. It's quite interesting. So it's not what I'm here for, to shill out gold. Yeah. Wonderland Wander. Oh yeah, I was just talking about that. But yeah, no, I did meet him. So I mean, I think you should be able. Maybe it's still there. I don't know. It would take a long time for me to get there. Let's go down. I'm sorry about the wait. Just a sec. So, sorry guys. If you have asked me a question, this poor little computer is telling me right where to go. Brian's the name. Brian's the name. Yeah. Brian was the name. Yeah, it was an anime avatar. I remember him telling me it was an anime. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have any questions, just drop them in there now. I am now currently it's now they're loading now. I can't wait until I get on my computer and like my actual computer, not this poor little guy. So and we'll finally get there. Yeah, that was quite awkward. Chrissy, it's good to see you. I'm really happy that you decided to drop by, and maybe we should chat a little bit more about what information we could possibly help these people out with. I think it would be important. I think that this has been extremely important for a lot of people to get some closure, and yeah. Ray of Creation, good to see you. I really, guys, I don't mean to bring it up again, but Ray of Creation, if there's ever been a time for veggie agents, now is the time. Another update on the whole TMF thing, from what I've heard, is that now, predictably, there is some infighting because TMF was not part of that inner circle, from what I know. And I'm pretty sure that inner circle is now starting to call out TMF. So that was predictable as all heck. And you start vegging out on that, I think you got yourself another great episode of Truth Cult busting. I gotta say, you guys were super effective. And check out Ray of Creation. I think he's quite good. I will say he's. I don't think he's a Christian, but if that's not a deal breaker for you, you should totally check him out. These guys were maybe the pioneers of calling out authoritarianism within this movement, which is the biggest cancer that a truth movement can have. You can't have these gatekeepers that think that their information or the information that they have received belongs to them, right? This is exactly how Masons work, right? This is how Masons justify keeping secrets and things like that, because just like the firm, you can handle the truth, that kind of thing. They believe that they've decided for you that information can't get out, and or you can't have a different opinion, or you can't just have some fun and joke around and things like that. Like this is imperative to keep an atmosphere where truth can freely flow. That's harder to say than I thought. Truth can freely flow. Um, but yeah. At 1313 of last night's video, even though I never met him, I'll have to go back, but if I did say that, I misspoke. Sorry about that. Actually privately talked to Jeff about the whole Max Resistant thing. He claimed it was just a banner to make the website look bigger than what it was. Take it for what it's worth. Interesting. Interesting. And like, again, like I feel that like I'm kind of risking painting things a little bit too black and white. You got to bear in mind that different people have different motives. And I think that's important to bear in mind. I'd say that, there's different reasons for these things. I had another story about the north of 49. There was, I forget which one it was, but like basically I was making all my videos off like a phone. It was a good phone. It was like the Galaxy Note 3, which was like the best phone at the time, and it's stylus, and it had like a better processor than this computer. Yeah, they were like, well, imagine if you had, an actual device, and they were like, well, get you a MacBook. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we got a MacBook for you, or Mac something. Yeah, we'll just send it over to you, and you can just use it from there on in. And so they sent it to like, I guess a post office or something like that in Ottawa when I was living there. And they sent me that, and I take it, and it's just like the box of, I don't know what it is. Like, I guess the CPU, I guess the Apple equivalent of a CPU. They just give me that, and I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to do with this, man? Like, if I had the money to buy a TV or like a monitor and everything else with it, like I wouldn't need to get a Mac, and I certainly wouldn't have gotten a Mac. Like, and then they got like mad at me for it because I wasn't using it. I'm just like, bro, come on, man. It's like, why? Because I'm not. What do you got on there that you really want me to use that? Come on. Like, my phone actually did a pretty decent job of making those videos, if you ask me, on Auto Expositor. We have someone, and remember to do at Avidon. I'm sorry if I missed any questions. If you're trying to ask a question, yeah. Is Camille in the network? So, I mean, I'm not in the inner circle now. I can only give you speculation. But from what it depends on what you mean by in the network. Like, does in the network mean that she is that she's grown in arrogance, or like she's become a gatekeeper of sort, or a shill of sort? I don't think that's the case. I think, again, like these people they have different motives. For example, like I was like pretty cool with like Red Pill at first, because there was one point when he showed one of my videos and like it doubled my subs. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty sweet, So I think that's the case with her. She started off small. She got picked up because she's quite talented and quite astute. And there's probably a feeling of gratitude and that she feels loyal, if that makes sense. It doesn't necessarily have to be evil motive. They inner circles like this filled with grifters and things, they know that they don't have the human touch. I mean, you've heard them try to cry on those goodbye speeches. They don't have that sort of thing, and they need someone for that sort of thing. And I think Camille would be that face of humanity, like Chrissy Tokyo was. That's basically, and she wait, Chrissy Tokyo did much more than be the face of humanity in the We'll Do It Live. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the way that they valued her was that it was like she was able to push through real emotion. That makes sense. Good intentions are bad. If you want my opinion, listen, I've never talked to her. I've never been in that circle, but if you want my opinion based on observances and things like that, I think she has good intentions. I think she has really good intentions, actually. I think she seems to me like a good person, and she could use some support. She really could. All right. So, Ray of Creation, you said you are a believer of Jesus Christ, but views on Christianity are unorthodox, to say the least. So, I guess if you're a babe in Christ, I would, take those things with a grain of salt until you've, gotten stronger in the word. That's all I mean. Oh, I would not worry about the buffering. I don't think the buffering is necessarily someone shilling. It really is this computer, this poor little guy. And I got one. I did make another call to the Service Civil de Québec or something like that, whatever it is. Sorry about the buffer. Sorry, guys. I forgot this one thing. So that link that I just put there, it's in English, if I'm not mistaken. That is, you could get a death certificate, or it's called a letter of attestation. So it's verifying that things are all good, So you could fill that out. I think you might have to be Canadian, right? And you could, if you were to send that in, I would make sure that you have in the reason line. I wouldn't put in anything more than trying to confirm discrepancies of the date of death, because I know that they say 23rd, 24th, somewhere around that range, but it's clear that it happened much earlier. That's a little bit weird, yeah, but it could be explained otherwise. So if you wanted to go and do that, I did want to do it. I'll be very honest why I'm a little bit iffy on it. It costs $57 to do it. I got to be quite honest. I'm not like, dead broke or anything, but like, because the coof, I don't really have that money to be shelling out, and I don't want to be taking donations and things like that. So maybe there's something like, me and other people could work out or something like that. But if you have the means or whatnot, if you're in Canada, then you could actually get that for yourself. And like, I'm trying to show you ways to do this without having to bother the family is the big thing. I don't think you need to bother the family. I think that was a false pretense given to you by people that wanted to make money off you. I think now if you can reach the funeral home, they give you the information that the file is there for Jeffrey. I think that is pretty strong evidence. I think there will be strong evidence if you did go ahead with that. There would be a wait because it's through the mail. It's like 2 weeks. If I go ahead and do it now, I wouldn't have that information for you for a while. It could be done by fax. So if you have that available, you could do that. So is there no police report? I tried calling SPVM and they said they can't release much about it if it's not immediate, I could try again. Maybe there's another one, but it's really tough to get this information. Quebec is not like the rest of Canada. It's under what's called a civil law as opposed to common law. And it's they have a lot more authority over things, and it's usually against freedom of information, as Quebec tends to lean a little bit more authoritarian. So yeah, there's that. And Chrissy was the glue back then. Yeah. So like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say she was just like a nice face to look at or something like that. She's a nice face to look at, but yeah, she was much more than that. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm trying to say that it's possible that other people were downplaying her role within that circle and basically viewing her as that function. I certainly don't, and I didn't. Why do some YouTubers have super chat and some don't? Well, I haven't turned on any monetization, right? So I'm not planning on making money on this channel. I don't think there's a reason to do that at the moment. Like, I was kind of like thinking, come back at another time when this is blown over and like you're not, like, you guys have moved on and you've done your own thing, and maybe I can restart things and like maybe have some sort of thing, because this stuff takes a lot of work. If you thought that maybe my abilities to research or give opinions on world events, if you think that was worth money, then maybe that would be one thing to look into. But there's not going to be super chat here. Like, I'm not looking to take money from you guys. I would rather start a legitimate business based on my talents, and that would be a much longer time down the road. Yeah, Jeff had no super chat. I mean, well, he did have Patreon and stuff like that, but there was also a point in time too where it was like kind of taboo to be in the truth movement and try and monetize, right? I remember pretty clearly, like, people were like scouring the social blades and stuff like that to see whether or not they were making money, and it was like a big stigma. Like, they didn't want, and to an extent, I think that's, to an extent, I think, like, I understand the importance, like, because this stuff, like, I remember when I was full time on this, and even right now, this is half a full time job, like, but way back in the day when I made all this stuff, like, this was, you would wake up, you would research, you would start making your video, you had to edit it, and like the editing process is really hard. Like, you want it to look good, you want it to be flashy so you can catch attention and things like that, so you do little things to make it work, and this stuff takes time. So like, sometimes a 15-minute video can take all day if you really want it to be of high quality. So I understand that people deserve to be compensated for that if they are putting in the work. I get that. I get that. So I'm not going to blast people that just that monetize things. I'm talking about the people that are like clearly here for the money. But then you got to get into whether or not, if you do it for the money, like, at what point do you start relying on that? And at what point will you change in order to follow the new guidelines of the week, or what was Jeff's regular job prior to the pandemic? My understanding is that he did guitar gigs, and that's what allowed him to be able to have post all the time and things like that. And he didn't do too many nights. He did like a once or twice a week live chat, right? So I think that's pretty cogent. He was available during the day. And a lot of days he would be out doing guitar gigs. And I wasn't sure if I believed that at first, but after watching the music channel, it's like, yeah, he could probably. Montreal's got a lot of competition for music, and I'm pretty sure that he probably would have had a good chance at getting some gigs. He was a really, really talented picker, specifically. Like, I've played guitar, just kind of like fooling around when I was a kid. I could never get the coordination to pick. Never. And I could never sing. Like, and I mean, I guess I can kind of sing, and I can like kind of strum a guitar, but I could never do it both at the same time. Some people just can't do it, and I'm one of them. Maybe it's a coincidence, Jesus Savior. Oh, high impact flicks. Yeah, high impact. I think there was a point in time about 5 years ago where he just disappeared, and he actually made a video stating it was almost like a canary in the coal mine video. Well, yeah, it was like, it seemed like he was taken to the woodshed and that he would no longer be giving out information or making videos. And then he came back, and now it's like very watered down. So I'm wondering what happened there. I don't think he's all that in a bag of chips. He's okay. He's got a nice voice. I think he's got a good temperament, which is like really important. He doesn't freak you out. At least not from what I recall. He was more relaxed, which is important with this kind of stuff. But yeah, it looks like that's a business. And he's only willing to go so far. Let's put it this way. So again, it goes back to, you either die or get silenced speaking the truth in some way or another, or you stick around long enough to become a grifter. And this makes sense, right? You're there all the time, and like, you start thinking that it's worth it. It's like the phone rings only when I'm live. Like, nobody calls here. It's only when I'm live. I'm telling you. I never think about turning it off because it never rings until I start going live. Yeah, monetization is not going to make you much. It's not going to make you much money, and they demonetize everything on a whim. So you have to do it through third party, like Patreon and things like that. So that's what they like. That's the plan. Nobody goes on YouTube for truthers or like this kind of stuff, because you're not, as Jeff would always bash back in the day, you're not nerdy nummies, all right, and you're not makeup stuff. So you're not posting kitties and things like that. So chances are, unless you're not going to get enough views to make enough money, what you need to do is you get a larger fan, or you get a fan base that's loyal to you, and they donate. That's the plan for those doing that. Yeah, I don't know how much money they could have made back in the day. I'm pretty sure Mario or whatnot, because he started getting like a lot of views from the mainstream or whatever, and he was saying all the key words, the buzzwords for the new apostolic reformation, which is gaining in popularity. So like you may not have even noticed that he was getting on with all this heresy, but this very popular movement within American churches specifically, or Western churches, and they're coming around, and he was kind of nudging them in. He saw an opportunity, and he got a lot of views, and I think he made a good bit of money. I mean, from what we see. But that show is that stuff's over now. Yeah, so bought off subs, that's a common thing. You make yourself look bigger. You pull the peacock or puffer fish move, right? Just like Ray of Creation was talking about the max resistance. And yeah, there's some benefit to teaming up like that, but you never know who you're teaming up with online, and those personalities take over, and you don't know what you're getting into until it all really. Quick reminder, just to put in @Avidon so that I don't miss the questions, because I am now looking at the chat. Oh yeah, and Mario totally did it for the money. Is he still around, by the way? Did he come back? I don't check on him really anymore, but I remember, yeah, he got himself in some real hot water, and basically, that's done with. God exposed him pretty hard. What do you think about Press Reset Earth just recently posting Jeff's music YouTube channel? Was it Press Reset Earth? I'm not sure. But the most recent video is from 8 years ago. I thought he always made music and kept recent with his music. So it's 8 years ago. So that would have been, the 2012's time. It won't show 9 until it's a full 9 years. So I guess what it looks like to me, because you'll see that he got a pretty decent amount of views, but he didn't get a lot of subs compared to those views. And that's typical of a music channel. So maybe he saw that, and he saw the loyalty that he was getting with Free Radio Evolution, and he made a call that this was where you can get more supply or attention. So I think that could maybe explain it, but I don't know. I don't know. But the video is really, like, the channel is his, or at least it is him on that channel. And I got a little bit emotional about it yesterday. I'm not a big fan of doing that on camera, but what made me emotional thinking about that was just, it's really cool to going through those comments and seeing the closure that a lot of people are getting. It's a really beautiful thing. It's a release, and it breaks my heart to see that there were so many people, like, once they see it and they finally get to see his face, means it meant a lot to me to see it. And I can only imagine what it meant to people that have never seen his face and they finally see it for the first time. I think that could help. Maybe you should spread it. Just one sec. Yeah, when you see Patreon on a Twoofer channel, trust is gone. Yeah, I think it, like, at what you're on a road then to acquiescing to the, the Patreon overlords, number one, and then your own guys. You are relying then on income from here. It's not going to take long before you start compromising your principles and your morals. I don't think it's going to take very long at all, actually. So, yeah, yeah. That's why it's like I would like to come back and maybe try and start a business down the road or whatnot. It'd be very hard to continue this kind of thing because of that reason. It's like it's a no-win situation, and I'm not saying that I just want to come here and make money. I'm saying that it's so costly, like time-wise. Like you can't have, you either have to give up a job or a social life, and I would personally, I would much rather just say, you know what, no, I need to get back to life when the time comes. So don't worry about me. I won't be trying to sell anything to a twoofa. To the twoofers, as Pantifa likes to say. To the twoofers. What type of business would I have in mind? I don't know. I think it would be more mainstream news. Like, well, not mainstream news. I mean, like covering, because I am more conservative than I am I am like a right winger, a conservative. I am MAGA. Like I am a strong believer of that, at least the ideology. So it would probably be something like that. When it comes to something that's so, like, you know what I mean? Like if I felt that I could contribute to something that would be exceptional enough that it's worth my time to do it full time, then I would maybe consider that. But I would not be doing it with the truth community. I think that that's not, it just wouldn't work. It just doesn't make sense to ever build a business model off the truth community, because at some point you're going to have to chill out. It'd be kind of cool. Like I really missed making the videos when I did, and I really missed covering topics, because, like, to be quite honest with you, like I was from even like up to my last videos, like with Mario and stuff, like I was shilled very hard, very, very hard, and that won't happen either. But, or sorry, that's not gonna stop either. I get that, but I did, when I broke with Jeff, or whatever you want to call it, I was shilled, or not shilled, but targeted into oblivion, and that's, you just don't want to deal with that stuff, right? So if that is stopped in some way, then it'd just be a lot easier. Can I do impressions? I don't practice them enough. I'm kind of good. Like I'll give you a hint. Like the whole Alex Jones thing, what makes it sound, when I was like study in the engine room, like it's how you hit the vowels. I'll give you that. Oh yeah, and I am getting I almost don't want to give you my Newfie voice now, because I'm getting this. I'm getting these comments that I'm Jeff, and of course I don't want to mislead anybody. And I always tell them, no, I'm not Jeff. But as this, what seems to be very forced suggestion, as that's happening, it's kind of driving a little bit more attention here, and it could possibly deprogram people from a truth cult. So, maybe to an extent that leaving that in the dark, it could get people here to start. But okay, all right, I tell you what. All right, boys. For the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk like I do to me father. All right, this is the way I talks, and everything here, right? When I talk, the best part about being a Newfoundlander is you don't have to conjugate any verbs. You know what I'm talking about? Like, so, for example, when you guys would say walk to the store, right? For me, it's I wax to the store. There's always an N, there's always an S on the end of that, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's me, you, it's I wax to the store, you wax to the store, he walks to the store, we walks to the store, you all walks to the store. That's or they walks to the store. And they, right? The TH there's no th in Newfie. All right, it's day box to the store. If that makes sense. So I'll keep this going for, but it's really hard to do it when I know I'm not talking to Newfoundlanders, because I really spent some hard issues trying to get rid of this accent, right? So when I started speaking like a non-Newfoundlander, I was listening to a lot of Free Radio Revolution. That might explain why, because like I had to scrub that accent somewhere. So I think he probably had a lot of influence in this very accent. So like my tone of voice, a lot of the things that I say, and the inflections and tones and stuff like that. It makes sense that I would sound like Jeff, especially at that point. There was a certain degree of idolization too. So yeah, I think that makes sense. So you like my Newfie accent? It's it doesn't do all that bad with the ladies. To be able to go in and out of that, I guess, out of that accent, it's, you know, kind of throws people off. It's a nice little smoke bomb. Same thing in my French too. At least when I'm rusty, I started learning French with people from France, but then I started going from Quebec. So je veux parler très strict. Strictement. I can't do it very much anymore. Like that's how bad my French is now. I can barely get out a sentence. Mais si je veux sonner comme un Québécois, là, c'est très différent que les Québécois et le français. It's very different, very, very different. And I picked those both up too. Newfies and Quebecers are quite alike for that kind of thing. And it's also a little like their differences are kind of crazy. So like when they say car, when Quebecers say car, it's un char. And char is a tank, a military tank in France. So like French people will go to Quebec and they will barely understand them, much like how a non-Newfoundlander would listen to me talk like this and probably not be able to get all that much out of us. If I really want, you know, if I really want to throw you off, right, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. The French will get further with the ladies. You know what's really funny? I'll say this too. I'll say this too. I don't know why, but girls from France, I seem to be quite confident in speaking to. Girls from Quebec, I find the accent so cute, I get too shy, and I'm like, I just can't talk to them like I do girls from France. It's quite interesting, quite interesting. And yeah, Cajun was actually, they came from not Newfoundland, but a very close Nova Scotia, and well, New Brunswick was the first place, and they kicked them all out of New Brunswick at one point, right after the Treaty of, I forget what the treaty's name was, but they lost the war. France lost the war, and we kicked them out. And they went down. There was a governor in Louisiana that accepted them. So the people that came there, they were called Acadian, and they're still Acadian people now. But when you start saying it really fast, Acadian, Cajun, that's how that word comes from. It's Acadian. By the way, I want to ask you, fellow man, if I'm not mistaken, did you have a? I actually thought about you about a year ago, because I remember you from back then, and am I wrong in thinking that there was you had some sort of illness, and you know I was always really worried for you, you know, like because I really, fellow man, I don't know if we actually talked all that much. Maybe a couple messages here and there, but I had a lot of respect for you. Because you didn't really care what people thought about you, and you would just say what you thought was the truth, and you didn't care who it offended. And I really that's you know, not everybody has that quality, and I think it's really important to have. Okay. A quick reminder to put in at Avidon, just so that I can see it. Someone asked me if I was ever Jewish. No, I was born Roman Catholic. And let me go through my list, I guess, of spirituality, just to qualify. Because yeah, I mean, I picked up a Hebrew name in Avidon. That comes from Numbers in the Bible. I think it was a son of Benjamin, if I'm not mistaken, and he was one of the people that was helping prepare the tabernacle. So I picked that one up because it's actually it's kind of close to my name in a way, like Justin, but in other ways it's different, and that's why I picked it up. But yeah, so I started off Roman Catholic, and but I mean, like when you're young, you're not listening to the priest. You're just in there trying to figure out how to pass time faster so you can get out. He's always looking at the clock in the back. And then I guess, like, you know, you hit your teens, and I was a bit atheist. And then it didn't take all that long before I started saying, you know what, I can't prove that there's nothing. So I went agnostic, and around 1920, I became a Mormon convert. I was talking about that before, but anyways, it didn't really take all that because I was also drunk at the time. So I was wearing 2 masks there. And it didn't take long for me to realize, you know, that was not the place for me by any means. And this was the point where I think I was starting to have an awakening, I guess, to what was going on. And then I started going to a whole bunch of different churches. Didn't matter which. I just wanted to hear what they were saying, even if I knew that they were false. Like, I even went to, like, Jehovah's Witnesses. I just wanted to hear what their mentality was. I wanted to see the different, because I saw the mind control in Mormonism, and I wanted to see how it plays out. And I'm kind of glad I did that, because you start seeing the differences. Mormons target intelligent, somewhat general. They'll take anyone, but what they want is someone intelligent that can kind of like do apologetics for them, and they want people that are vulnerable. So they'll target single mothers, and I will confirm to you, as someone who went out door to door with missionaries and went to go see people, like, they were clearly, like, the single mother thing was very important. And if they had the single mother, if they suspected it was a single mother, their teaching of that day would definitely reflect that. So yeah, the special underwear is like the least important thing, actually. I think it's like a little rabbit hole to go on, to be honest. There's so much to call out about Mormonism, and really important, because they're trying to go mainstream all the time. You got to point out just how they're so anti-biblical. What's my sign? I don't believe in astrology. I suppose I would be a late Pisces if I did believe in that. But I think it's pretty clear in the Bible that there's other things to worry about. No, not Cancer. No. I know, like, mine is Pisces, but it's not something that I believe in. But to answer your question, that my birthday would fall into late Pisces. They made Napoleon Dynamite. Actually, I'll give you this. I'll give you that. That's a good one. Their comedy. They actually do, like, stand-up nights at BYU, Brigham Young University in Utah, and the comedy is super funny, because especially back then, when it was like, when all comedy was so shock comedy oriented, they're not going to do shock comedy, right? And they're not going to be swearing. So the jokes, they had to be intelligent. They had to come from a source of intelligence, or else they weren't going to get the laughs. Now you just have to be a minority, and they'll just laugh for you. But back then, like, the BYU guys, they really had to work for it. And you end up with, like, some of the best comedy skits, and they're 100% clean. So there's ups and downs to, you know. Right? You don't have to be foul mouthed to be a comedian. It might buffer. Give me a sec. If I miss a question on you, I'm sorry. Shoot it at me again. I'll get to you. I'm sorry. Why Aquarius? No, 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 no. I'm the fish. I would be the fish. Um, yeah, sign of the cross. Amen. Amen. Exactly. Exactly. Amen. Yeah, I got away from Joseph Smith. Heck yeah. Jesus, not Joseph. That's for sure. And that's another trouble. I mean, if you've ever looked into like the history of Joseph Smith, like he had what we are pretty sure, anyways, was an alcoholic father, and like a really bad one. And he also was involved with certain fraud schemes. Like Joseph Smith himself was arrested for something like glass looking, which was a fancy term maybe for fraud. So like he had a hat or stone or something, and he would go to rich people and he would say, listen, I can find this treasure, you just need to sponsor my trip or whatever, and I'll come back and use this, or I'll go there and I'll use this special thing and I'll be able to see special things in the ground and we can dig you up treasure, right? So he was convicted for that, and his father did it with him at first. So like he was quite guided to become a con man to begin with. And then you also have to look at, there was a very shaping tragedy that they constantly talk about in the Mormon Church too, to legitimize Joseph Smith. He had some rare disease. I think it was in the bone marrow of his knee. To just quickly answer, no, I'm not currently in Quebec. I did live there, but I'm no longer there. He had something in his knee, and this was back in the 1830s, 1840s, or whatever. And he was young, like I think it was 10 or something. And the only way that he wasn't going to have his leg amputated or the thing possibly spread to kill him, what they had to do, the doctor, was give him a little bit of anesthetic, and they didn't have anesthetic like we do now. Remember, like the anesthetic was actually brandy. Apparently, he turned down the brandy, which is quite, you want to go through a knee surgery without any sort of anesthetic. The turning down of the brandy is kind of a telltale to me. He certainly looked at alcohol like it was quite a problem. So that tells me that there was probably some alcohol problems in his family. And you can see it in the word of wisdom, no alcohol, right? But so he ended up getting like a partial, a part of his kneecap getting scooped out by a doctor, and he was just, all he had was a bit to bite on, and you got to, then on top of that, he was left with a limp. He was made fun of for a while, and he also, because he was somewhat imaginative and he had access to a library that most people didn't have access to, he was a known fibber as a young person, right? So there was a sense of isolation with Joseph Smith that you gotta appreciate excuse me, you gotta appreciate and have sympathy for it, because it became quite obvious, what he was, a narcissist, and all of these signs are leading to someone that, he had a traumatic childhood. He felt isolated right up until young adulthood, and then by that point there's no really stopping that. So he started making up, the whole I'm alone in the woods, and there's about 7 different stories of the first vision, by the way, and the one that they're currently on was written well after he died. That's actually one of the best red pills for a Mormon, because there's very little can get through to them, but the first vision is what they call it. That's to some, it's the root of their testimony. And if you point out that there's multiple stories of that, including the one that they're using now, never existed when Joseph Smith was alive, and he himself even changed it a few times, that is a really good red pill, a good seed to plant for Mormons if you were ever interested in witnessing to them. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't learn too much about Hiram. I didn't learn too much about Joseph's brothers other than Hiram. They were quite close. I don't know, because when I studied the Mormons, I wasn't really big into Masonry. Like, I didn't understand how important that stuff was. So there may be more than met my eye at the time of studying it. So, but I do know he was pretty close to Hiram. I'm pretty sure Hiram died with him in Carthage jail when that got stormed. And I don't know if you know, like, the end game that happened with Joseph Smith. He declared martial law in the town of, I think it was Illinois. That was actually, it was Nauvoo, Illinois, and that was bigger than Chicago at the time, or around the same size. It was a competing place. Everybody started getting really jealous of Mormons because it was a closed society. They were doing pretty well for themselves, to be quite honest. They were industrious and all that kind of stuff. People were getting jealous. They got isolated. And it culminated when he was getting busted, sending some of his, like, best men off to, like, for example, one of them he sent off to Palestine, and then he went and married that dude's wife that was still there while he was out in Palestine. This is very, very sick stuff. I'm pretty sure he ended up with 33 wives. I'm pretty sure is the number that they have. I think more than 1/3 were under 19 years old when he was at least 30, and 11 of them were married to others. I want to say 11, somewhere around there. I know I'm throwing a bunch of weird numbers at you. It's not intentional. These are just the facts that they have. This could have been written by Masons. So take that as you are. KJV is the best, Avidan. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. No argument for me there. Have you heard of Richard Brothers? He was a Newfie. He was influential to Mormons because of the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm not sure, my friend. I did, however, find maybe a relative. Trying to figure out if it matters if I give you a last name. Hiiii. Yeah. Hiiii is one of my family's names. And there was a Pat Hiiii that was apparently a relative of mine that was actually one of the Mormon pioneers. So I don't know if he actually came directly from Newfoundland, but I was able to trace it back because Mormons really love their genealogy search, and they seem to know more about my family than I do. So just give me a sec. Just gonna see if I missed anything. So Christian would say, I like how Jeff C. would say, God bless on his show. Yes and no. It's great to acknowledge God. It's great to acknowledge God, but bear in mind that Jesus himself warned about wolves in sheep's clothing. And he said their hearts, or they pay lip service to me, but their hearts are far from me. You can't just take the word of anybody saying God bless. And listen, again, I never met Jeff after. Oh, this is probably why I said I never met Jeff. Yeah, and if you cut it down like that, I never met Jeff after the first time. So, like, and I haven't seen Jeff since we fell out. And I think there was a question that was there. I'm sorry if I missed it earlier. If Jeff was alive today, would we have reconciled? I think the only way that we could have reconciled is if he was alive right now and there was some plot against him. I'd be willing to put my differences aside to expose this. That would possibly be the only way. And it's not that I don't hate him, but I realize that there's no discord with darkness, I suppose. Awake, all ye nations. You mentioned Joseph sold his brothers into slavery. I'm sorry. I now know that you're talking about the biblical Joseph. I was talking about Joseph Smith. Sorry about that. Um, is my okay? I think we're good on questions at the moment. I tell you what, if you want to kind of chill for a moment, it's up to you. We can. I'm just going to take a quick break, and we can come back and see what's up. You guys can chat or whatever, and we'll just see how it goes. If you guys are done with the questions and stuff like that, you don't want to chat, we can finish it up too. But I'll give you guys some time. Good night to those that like most of the information that I was putting out, other than the chats. It's pretty much I've given you what I have. So don't worry, you're not aside from like maybe some good chat, which it would be cool if you stuck around. But you won't be missing any imperative information. So it was great to see you. And for those that want to stick around for chat, I'll see you in a couple minutes. All right. All right. Since I missed being a conspiracy theorist, I got a random one for you. What if? Okay. What if? You remember how auto tune came out back in the day? I don't know if you guys know, but auto-tune was based on it was originally sonar software. Okay, that's how they developed it from that, and they started using it to tune people's voices to something closer. So here's my conspiracy theory. It started coming out in like 2010, somewhere around there, which is plausibly within that whole the whole Chinese rise of propaganda and all that stuff. What if the sonar is still in effect, and when you use it on like smart devices, it's mapping out your house? I know it might sound crazy, but I'm just going to say it because I want to also exercise the last remaining modicum of free speech that we have remaining. I don't know. What do you think of that? I think it might be a nice little rabbit hole on when it's not when things aren't so crazy. I think that's a possible. So we still got a few people in here. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'll if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in there now. Let's see if I can find some good ones while we're here. Oh, the band hammer. I remember that. Chrissy's band hammer, I think. Right. Okay. All right. So, fellow man, I wish folks like you and or to Chrissy Meow, I wish folks like you and Abidal would come back for a bit and teach these people how they stage things like Sandy Hook. This is, you know what I'm talking about. You guys helped. Well, thank you. I'm glad that we helped. So yeah, I mean, check it. I mean, we can talk about it right now. I mean, I don't know if you guys like saw the pictures of the happening. If you still surf places like 4chan and things like that, you'll see these threads where people will drop this information, like the pictures that were inside. And you will also see the real deals of massacres that, weren't that. And you see how brutal these things were, like at the Balaclava or whatever that was. There's pictures of that, and that looked very real. But when you look at the pictures inside that building in Newtown that is now demolished, the most gory thing that you'll see is basically what looks like could be a ketchup stain in a doorway, and it's like just one. And you can see the chaos in every other one of the real footage of real events, or at least what I can see are real events. And when you compare it to that building, where you see all the chairs are still, or they're even pushed in, and everything looks perfect and prim and proper. And the only other thing that I can think of is that it looks like there's another hallway shot, and then like the equivalent, 3 classrooms down, you can kind of make out a body there. But it's very unidentifiable. It's very vague. And I think it's done for a reason. It's probably meant to alert us and get us to start theorizing when really something could have happened, but we don't see the same proof that we see of many other things. Chrissy says, and thank you for those who are saying that you would like me to stay, but let's see what the Lord wants, because I was talking about like business and stuff like that. Don't worry about. I just want to see what the Lord has in store for me, I guess, and it may be here, it may not be, and we'll see. We'll see. It's okay. It's okay. I think you guys can do much better on your own. Like, or I mean, with you can, you don't need me. That's what I mean. Like, I think that there's many of you that are quite brilliant. One channel I'd really like to shout out, if someone could maybe put her link in the chat, is Marie W. I think that she is a great digger, a great. I I think I see a lot of empathy there, which is so important, so important. And you know, she's not afraid to say what she thinks is the truth, like a lot of them. She's as close as to genuine that I've seen so thus far. I'm not saying that there aren't other ones. I'm just saying that I think there's lots of people already that you don't need me. A Newfie Expositor channel. Maybe. Maybe. Listen, they have some weird things going on here. This was a bit of a Jesuit stronghold as well. One of my family, one of the sides of my family was from a place that was run by Jesuits, basically. Like, they come from a community in which it was predominantly Catholic, and the order that ran the churches there, which is kind of, back then it was like the social gathering center, that was Jesuit. You see a lot of Saint Anne. Saint Anne is actually a really good indicator, or a good red flag, that you might have Jesuits crawling around your area, because Saint Anne, as there's no evidence in the Bible of a Saint Anne. They say that Saint Anne is the mother of Mary. I think that when you look at the symbolism of portraits of Saint Anne, I think it becomes clear that she is a replica of the goddess Ceres. She has a lot of reference to the earth when she's there, in a lot of portraits and things like that. Whereas, like, Mary has been, what would be the word? The Catholic Church has desecrated Mary to be a symbol of Isis or Ishtar or whatever. So Saint Anne, or Saint Anne, or whatever you want to call it, yeah, I think that's always a really good example. That's a good indicator that you might be on to the right track to finding a Jesuit. Jeff brought us out of our caves. Yep. 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 You say what you want about him, and yeah, I think we need to be careful about it, like, not to idolize him. He was a narcissist, but at the same time, he, you know, he was an inspiration to a lot of people. So I don't think you can totally discount that. And not everybody who listened to him was part of a truth cult either. I've also seen many comments, many comments that state, you know, they didn't see Jeff like that. They saw everybody in, like, the round tables and stuff like that as equals, and they all had equal things. And I think that would be a good mentality to have, you know. But in that case, you don't, you know. Abidan, I don't want you to put you on your spot, but do you still condemn Vigilant Christian? So I haven't been following him. I don't want to bash someone that might have truly come to the Lord, might have truly finally been broken by the Lord and humbled and brought to him. So I don't want to impede on that process if I don't have the evidence to see it. I'll check it out, see what he's up to. If God didn't break him, then I think it's, you know, he might have become a better hider or something like that. But again, I tell you what, I'll get back to you on it, okay? Because I don't want to go. If he's starting to walk in the Lord, I'm not. I should be the last person to derail that. Condolences to Jeff's family if this turns out to be true. At this point, I think that we can all verify for ourselves, especially now with the funeral home. You can do that, and unless you're unwilling to trust the funeral home, it's stranger things have happened, I guess, but I think it's pretty clear that Jeff has passed. Sure. Examples of what Jeff was a racist. I actually did a lot of work to document this, and I'm going to see what I can do to get that video back. But sure. The biggest one is delusions of grandeur, I think, would be the most noticeable one. You can see him talking about his views nonstop, about trying to reach more people. This was his main MO. And I think the more you listen into that, the more you can see that. It might be the best example. If there's still episodes of live streams, you should listen closely to how he, I heard that he was a little bit tamed in the past few years, but in the older ones, listen to what happens if someone interrupts him. You'll hear it quite quick, okay? You'll pick up on it quite fast if you know what you're looking for. What's another one? So I don't want to just go trash a guy without having it. It's I would also look at how private he was, to the point where this could have been done intentionally, and now we never know. So he was so private, or we would never know. He was so private in his real life that he did take many steps to cover his identity, but he did expect everyone else, like in the MSM and stuff, that's all completely good to go. Like you have the green light to search that family, to call the family, whatever. But the same can't be done for him. So there's that. The inability to take criticism is quite clear as well in the older days. There's a lot of different things. I'm going to try and get that video up and see if I can give you a good portion of it. Maybe go, if you look on my channel, there's still the video, what free radio revolution really thinks about you. If you look that up now, that video should be there. And in my opinion, it's quite telling. He was probably under a great deal of stress, but he says some things that are quite telling. That's the thing too. It's hard to spot this. It's hard to spot this when you're not in the inner circle, because they spend their whole lives trying to hide it from those that aren't in the middle circle. So you got to bear that in mind. It's a bit rough, but if you do know where to look, you will see it. They're not perfect at hiding it. When you're in the inner circle, though, it becomes much more. Janelle passed away. That's really sad. Dang, man. Crap a reality. To me, Jeff's biggest fault was thinking everybody outside of his perspective was some sort of COINTELPRO. That kind of paranoia wasn't healthy. Yes. Yeah. That is the us and them mentality. The us and them mentality was a big factor. Oh, another one too was how we talked about people that, like the sheeple. He did not have much respect for people that didn't agree with him, that haven't been woken up. He was convinced that it must be out of stupidity, whereas there's been so many different times where it's been quite clear. We made it quite, or at least I made it quite clear, and he couldn't debate it, that it's not necessarily due to a lack of intelligence, but things like a want to belong. The search for truth can sometimes even skew what your perception of reality, sometimes, because people are trying to gaslight you, and that makes you go crazy sometimes if you're not strong against it. You have to have sympathy for the sheeple. You do, absolutely. Someone also tell me, I forget who Rise was, if someone can explain that. But you have to have people, or you have to have sympathy. You have to realize where they're coming from. Like a lot of the, I would say the vast majority, like, and I was talking about the analytics difference right now, like with now my channel, which was once a complete sausage fest of my listeners, is now predominantly female. So like it's now that sense of shame that was before has seemed to have been diminished in some fashion. And a lot of these normies, they were stuck in that mainstream because they were ashamed of what other people would think about them if they weren't. And like when I started, listen, when I put out these videos, like I lost family members, you know, and we never spoke again. And we still don't, because they think I'm crazy, you know, like because I said that I don't necessarily believe the story of what happened in Newtown. Like this, you will lose family members, you will lose friends, you will lose all, like it's going to happen if you speak out, especially back then. Now like people are a lot more open. They're starting to see a lot of the fakery in the media. The funeral home link for Jeff C. Philemon, I don't want to just post that out. Yeah. I tell you what, yeah, sure. Faye, I don't have the link here. If I do, I'm going to buffer out. But if you look up Kane, Kane, the second word is Fetterly, Fetterly. There might be an E in there somewhere, but I'm pretty sure you should be able to get that. It's in Montreal or somewhere in that area. If you look that up, you're going to find the place. You won't see his name. You won't see his name on that website. We still don't have proof that that obituary is real. I think he's passed away from my conversation with that funeral home, but that doesn't mean that the obituary is real. And I'm seeing a lot of people like talk about how it needs to be under control and things like that. And I'm a little bit worried about that. But I don't think that that's evidence of Jeff's passing being a lie, if that makes sense. I think someone might want you to think that too. Yeah, like just try not to flood the poor guys. It's a small funeral home. The person I was speaking with today said that like it's her and one other person in the later hours or whatnot that are usually there taking calls. I managed to get a third party that they sometimes employ during some hours, but it's a small place. They do conduct funerals, so I would recommend that not all of you call at once, but you will be able to get they'll be able to tell you that there is an account. They can't give you too much information because of the privacy thing. But they will be able to say to you something that makes a whole lot of sense along with that, which family members, what type of family members, something like that. It comes quite clear. It becomes quite clear. You can make the call for yourself, and yeah. You don't have to take my word for it. Just, respect is key. That's all. And not the respect that they're trying to tell you, like, don't ask questions. I don't mean that. I think because like when they're like, don't bother the family, you're just bothering the family. You need to be, you're shameful if you do. Like there's an element, part of it is true. You don't want to bother a family in a terrible time, right? But that's based on a false premise that you needed to contact them at all, right? I think that they were trying to control that narrative so that they could keep people into their dox cord and keep people in their little circle and trying to beg, get for more truth. I think that's closer to what I would say is just not the fake respect where you don't ask questions. Just bear in mind that at this point, I'm pretty sure we got a family that is, and think about it too. Jeff was always talking about that he would live forever. Like some technology would happen that we'd live forever. I remember him talking about this a lot. I highly doubt that this was a man that wrote a will for himself, even at 50. So there's probably a lot of unfinished business with this family too. And they probably got a lot of stuff they got to deal with So, you know, you got to bear that in mind. You got, at the same time, I'm not trying to, again, I think you know where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It's just don't let that plan from these grifters become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I think that's what they want you to do, so that the movement as a whole looks crazy and only they can tame them or they can keep the control. This is basically the mentality that CCP has, is that, or the I call them gloatsies at this point, globalist socialists. But the gloatsies, they think that the common man doesn't deserve real information. They wouldn't know what to do if they had it, and it's up to them to control it and keep it from the plebs. So we're approaching the 2-hour mark. We'll probably give some grace period here now, maybe an extra 20 minutes, have some chat, and maybe call it a night. I will give the link at this moment. I might buffer. Give me a sec. So this right here, if you, oh, one sec. Okay, I think I will stop buffering at this point. So that link that I just gave you goes to what's called the bunker chat. It's a chat that it's a live, technically a live stream in waiting, but I conduct it as a chat room. You're more than welcome to go there, even if you hate me, even if you're the trolls or the shills. You can come over there and tell me whatever you like. I'd love to hear from you all. I didn't say grace. No, not grace. I think I saw a question. I missed it. I'm sorry. What was up with Red Pill's hospital live stream? I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about there, but you never know with this guy yet. I mean, you gotta. I look for signs of projection. Study what projection is, narcissistic projection, and look for signs of it. That might give you a good example of where he's coming from on certain things. Is he pushing something really hard? Well, then he's worried that you think the opposite of them. If you go to Mario's videos on all his lectures on what to do and not to do as a Christian, often what's going on there is he's just been busted in the background doing exactly what he's telling you not to do. If that makes sense. There's a lot of examples of that. A lot of examples. The best way that he gets out of trouble is pretend to be a teacher against it. He did that a good bit. He did a stream in a hospital bed earlier today. I didn't stay because he was crying. Oh. Yes, I do have a theory for you. I'm not a mind reader. I haven't seen it. I do have a theory for you. He's been busted, basically. He had a business that he was looking up, and it involves essentially trying to replace Jeff C. He was trying to start up a live, or the We'll Do It live chat with press. There's all the, like, him changing his names to be closer to Jeff. So once he gets caught doing something, usually narcissists will then play like the bird with a broken wing. Jeff did that to me, actually. Actually, I'm pretty sure he said he had to go to the hospital, so that, like, if anybody says anything about him, right? He's already got the preloaded statement that why would you ever say something against someone in the hospital? Like you're shameless trolls and shows. You're disgraceful. That's what's going on. That if I had to make a bet, which I don't gamble, but if I had to make a bet, that would be where I put my chips. 100%. 100%. It's just textbook. I should have realized that immediately. It was just I wasn't quite sure what you were talking about. So yeah, he's looking to divert attention from the fact that he just tried to play all of you. That's basically it. They always got to go to the hospital, and then there could be the element that Chrissy even says it. Jeff did go to the hospital when we first did the shows. We got crap for keeping on with the show that night. Boom, boom. I'm so glad Chrissy's here. I can start getting like some seconds here. You know what I mean? Yeah, no joke. This was totally played like that. Totally played like that. So this is the plan. And now that deepens things because to me, that shows, bearing in mind that it could be cognitive bias, but I don't think so, man. I think that perfectly explains what's going on. It's not just from me either. You know what I mean? Because like I have more or less like a small following, but there's others now that are saying the same thing because there's factions, right? There's him and maybe press, but then there's like the KJ faction, and they have an inner circle, and now it's a fight over resources. And maybe one of the people here can actually say that I called that this was going to happen, like the fighting in between each other, and they're going to throw each other under the bus. And I have heard that someone's calling out TMF from that circle. I haven't seen the video myself, so maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was just happening. He's getting thrown under the bus. So he has nothing else to do now except for to cry foul. He needs to hedge his bets. And this is a bet. Like, I mean, he was betting that you would not understand what his stuff is. And now he's been caught. So now he's going to live stream himself in the hospital crying. Really? What's TMF channel name now? I don't know, but it's probably closer to Jeff's. I think it's Truth Media Films. I think that's what it is. Chrissy saying that she may not agree, or not saying that you agree with this theory. I think things could happen, and it might not have anything to do with this. I'm being careful to not have an idea of what's happening, and then trying to find. Yeah, I get you. I get you, and I am willing to take the risk of going out on a limb, and of course, I am hedging it, saying it's my opinion that this is a plausible theory, if not likely the case. Free Radio Films. His name is Free Radio Films. Truth Media Revolution, Free Media Films. Do you see that? It's like even formulaic, right? Because one is like, let's say that his word is A, or yeah, let's go to just his word is A. Jeff's word in his name was B. Truth Media Revolution would be AAB. Free Radio Films is BBA. Do you see what I'm saying? With I think I screwed up that formula, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like it was the first two words he changed and kept revolution, and then then it develops again to become the first two words are Free Radio Revolution or Free Radio, and then just one other word like films. So yeah, like I mean, come on, like I don't think you can get any clearer. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that this is very likely what's going on. He's trying to usurp the loyalty that he had, or that Jeff had. Like every day kind of shows a different step. So you can't. So like basically, I'm gonna get hate now because or is probably more for someone in the inner circle because they can do a little bit more damage, right? So that's probably what that is. If they continue to attack him, he's gonna say, "Oh my gosh, can you believe this? 100,000 subs. go attack them over this, and he'll say it, and he probably won't tell you directly. What he will say is, uh, people looking to well, he'll probably project people looking to usurp what I have, or they're trying to take my legitimacy away from me, or something like that. When it's really, that's exactly what he's doing. I would expect there to be some sort of release at that point where he does that. But listen, Chrissy in a way is right. You can't just say, I feel this way, therefore confirmed. All I'm saying is that I've called some things. I've predicted some things, like the infighting with the money and stuff like that. I like literally called that hours before. Anna can attest to this. I called it hours before it started happening. Hours. I was like, if my theory is correct about him trying to usurp things, this is not going to go well with the inner circle. They both have the same game. They both have now it's a game of trying to get all the resources that they can. So they're going to fight each other. So their shot was a direct shot against him, saying that he is a pretender or something like that. And then he's hedging his bet so he can go on the defense, and possibly if they overstep a boundary if they overstep that hedge, he's going to cry foul and attack them. I believe that will be the next step of the course of actions. And because they're pathological, chances are it's going to happen. So yeah, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm awesome, I called this, but I'm just saying that if it's not the case, then they should be much less predictable. Jeff, yeah, I was talking about this last time, and for those who weren't here last time, essentially Jeff had something that Truth Media or whatever, Red Pill, I'm just going to call him. He had the loyalty that Red Pill didn't have, and he wanted, and he still wants Pill's popularity in that he had a lot of views and he had a lot of subs and a large, like it's a potential exposure is what Jeff was looking at him, and he was willing to overlook any clashes that they had, at least intentionally. And they thought it would be like, a mutual scamming of each other and things would be okay. Well, that's not how it works. And narcissists learn that they can't mix. Narcissists hate narcissists more than anybody else because they see themselves in them and they can't stand it. They hate you. Everybody thinks that narcissists love themselves. No, it's actually that they hate themselves so much. They think that they're so flawed. As they go through the process of the solidification of narcissism, they create an alter ego that is perfect because they're too young to understand why something's going wrong, why they're not developing properly. So what they do is they create a defense mechanism, and they love that alter ego, the shell around them, to protect them. And they will do anything to protect that shell. But on the inside, they hate that on the inside. And they see that in others. They can't see it in themselves, right? Because they have the shell around them to protect them. But what they do is they see it in everybody else. Very clearly, too. And that's probably why Jeff was really good at the whole hoax thing. That probably played a factor. So you got to bear that in mind. There is the good with the bad in a way. Yeah, we're getting some great questions, and this is what I mean. Like, I didn't want to leave right away because like some of the best parts of these chats are like awesome questions. like there's only so much information that I have now for you guys. I think you don't really need me anymore, but I almost need you. I really miss these kinds of chats. They're really fun. But I won't, I won't idolize it. I'm glad to see you guys again. That's all. Patreon Red Chill. That's a good name. Red Chill admits he personally didn't know Jeff C. Oh, I remember seeing in the live chat yesterday. Did Red Pill ever meet Jeff C? I don't think he did. I could be wrong. Maybe they did in that 5 years from when I left in that. But They didn't before then, from my understanding. Red Pill used to imitate Jeff so much that I got them confused when I found them years ago. Oh yeah, yeah, he still does. He still does. Nothing's changed there. Nothing's changed there. Man, that's a bit the whole hospital thing. I just, if I were you, I'd call him out on it. I think if there's enough people that call out that, it's like, well, what'd you go in there for? What you do there, bro? It's like, it's quite interesting how this works. Like, why are you filming yourself in the hospital crying? It's too convenient. But it's also like, again, like the term that I use too much. I know, but it's important. Plausible deniability. They keep that as their defense, their shield, right? Because like if you say, "Oh, I think you're lying," they're just, "Oh, how dare you? You can't prove that." Well, whatever. I can't really prove the Pantifa theory with Ven and a werewolf either. But I'm also like, I see the writing. Whether I'm wrong or not, this is the tactics that they use. You'll see it everywhere you go that has Antifa astroturfing. You have to call it out. At least, hey man, at the very least, you're acting like Pantifa. You have to worry about the families. I can't get over it. I'm sorry. Red Pill treated you like a darling until you stopped showing up for live streams. I started to realize he was an narc quickly. Yeah, they want loyalty. He really needs loyalty, and you've just affronted that loyalty by not showing up to all of his shows. I mean, you are supposed to be idolized, or sorry, you are supposed to be idolizing him. And how dare you? How dare you not go to one of those shows? You know what, Jewel, go away. I'm just kidding. But that's the mentality. That's the mentality. Where is my respect? Where's my loyalty? How dare you not treat me like a king? By decree of almighty Red Pill, thou shalt attendeth mine ceremonies. Stopped answering emails too. Yeah, I mean, he ran away pretty quick. I'm guessing what happened was he had a defense starting to line up because, he got that website now. And from what I hear from what, oh, by the way, this is something I need to tell you. There was someone, a John Canada account. I cannot speak to the veracity of who he is or whatnot, but I have heard this name around, and that he was actually part of like the initial investigation to which they all started deciding that you were not worthy of this information. He was the one that mentioned Red Pill to buy Free Radio Revolution. Now listen, hosting's cheap, right? If you have a nice little small site, but now they're talking about having the entirety of his video collection on that site, and that's not a small needed. Then that starts getting real expensive. I'm pretty sure. Maybe someone can prove me wrong here. Please do. I don't do much web hosting, but from what I can tell, like the first level of a website starts getting overwhelmed pretty quick, and then you can't join it anymore. So yeah, that's how it's going on. Most of them like to steal people's ideas and like they always had them. Yeah. A lot of them were aggregators. There was someone that was here. It was an abbreviated name. I really liked what he had to say. I wanted to say it was LOI or something like that. But he mentioned that a lot of these people, they're not researching anymore. Like if they ever did, they're not doing it anymore. What they're doing is going through other people's videos, and then they just aggregate all the information and bring it to you, which it is what it is. But at the same time, you can't really call yourself a leader. You're just taking other people's work and taking credit for it, which is, again, if you want to get the truth out, it's okay. But these same people tend to be really protective of their work. So yeah, a lot of them are they're quite phony. They want to come off as experts, and they're nothing but experts of stealing other people's work. Hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to truly bash everyone here. I'm just, or all those guys. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I mean, is it in the realm of possibility that a fan of Jeff's would just pay for it? I mean, the dude had, yeah. No. I mean, they would just pay for it. Yeah. Which is like, why do we need Red Pill? We need Red Pill. No, it's cool. Please drop in. Where I've been on a 5-year hiatus, you know, there's probably a lot of things that I've missed. I probably have a lot of blind spots. So you know, poke holes. I want you to do so. I think it's important that it's done. Am I back? Hello. So yeah, is it though? Let's discuss it. Yeah. Because I mean, like, he had, from what I understand, he had 400 Patreons. You know, it's not a small amount of money. But what I'm saying is that what it looks like to me, Red Pill of all people, and Chrissy, I think like, this guy is not necessarily a legitimate person. It'll start off, it says that it'll have a donation fund for the family, is what he said. And then what will happen is, it might be a small cost at first, but you start putting up all that media, and he'll be like, you know what, this is very costly. Please send in the cost for this. And there's going to be an overlap, and he's going to find a way to say, I deserve that overlap. He's going to rationalize that he deserves that overflow of cash, and he'll start monetizing that. I think that is one thing that I think you can attest to, at least its plausibility, I think. But yeah, of course, people would pay for it. I think that, heck, even, I mean, dang. It's a really bad situation altogether. You know, like, everybody that he had around him, for one, not everybody, okay? Again, there's one person that I think is a really good chance to get the truth out of, to get a, you know, but for the most part, these people were not looking out for his best interest. They were looking out for their own, and they saw something and they needed it from him, and vice versa. So I guess it kind of stinks whoever gets this. But I would say, out of all these people, he'd probably be the last one, him and KJ, I think. Yeah. Just wait to see when the website is out. For now, we're assuming. The comment I saw on a video said it was a fan of Jeff. Jeff's doing the website. If there's other evidence, can I have the link? You can go to the comments of my last video where someone claims that they gave it to him, to Truth Media Revolution to do, or whatever he calls himself now. And also, apparently, he came out with his own video saying that he was opening up a memorial. And that was yesterday. Like, he's really rolled out his plan. Chrissy, maybe go through the first hour of yesterday's, and bear that in mind. Just take my whole theory into account, and then watch his actions. I'm not sure for how long you've been lurking, but I think it'll become a lot more clear. If I'm just pointing out, like, this one thing, yeah, of course, it looks like I'm just reaching. I think that the totality of the information is getting pretty clear, that while there was likely good intent by many people, that this is, it's taken over. It's monetizing someone's death, I think, is what's going on. Faceless propagandists. I hope the videos I saw of him were just one that he was under the influence of the truth cult. That's very possible. I was a little bit worried. I saw the same kind of, shame on anybody looking into this kind of thing. So you got to be careful about that. It can be a good way to gain audience, to pay lip service to Christ. But I'm not saying that's what he's doing. I'm just saying that there were, a red flag or two that maybe he wasn't in the right direction. And I would love to be wrong. Love to be wrong. And if that's the case, I'm so happy, because I got a feeling that something like this is a great opportunity to bring people to Christ. Ice Cream Day. You know what? I did see it. I haven't opened it yet. I'm so sorry, but I did receive it. Yeah, John, I went through the funeral home. I went through the I made a call to a funeral home, and I said that they basically they can disclose that they have an account for Jeff, and that the security is locked to 2 members of the inner family, that they can check the funeral home for themselves. It's probably not the best idea to be going and bothering any family, but that maybe you should, like, on the obituaries, dude, I don't see a problem with saying to people that, or saying on the obituary that he brought a lot of people to the truth, because that's the truth. And I just mentioned how you were saying that you gave TMF the tip off about the website. I think that was a very, I don't know, John, I don't know how well you know. And John, I don't know if you're interested. I would like to know if, because this is the first time we've met, maybe we can talk a little bit more, right? Maybe get you in for a live stream if I can get my computer and stuff going on. I probably wouldn't, this poor little guy, this computer probably wouldn't be able to handle it, but maybe get you in for an interview or something like that. I think it was a really, really bad mistake to give red pill. If you're Jeff's friend, I think it was a really bad mistake to do that, to be quite honest. And I know it seems like, it really seems like he's his best friend, but I think that that's set up for a reason. I'm not quite sure how well you know him, but every action I've seen so far is telling me that this guy is trying to basically usurp and monetize Jeff's death. Everything. And it's not just the website either. John, I appreciate that you left a message on my thing, and for what it's worth, I think that you were trying to do right by Jeff. I get that. Okay. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Okay. And I don't think that you were correct in the calculation that withholding that information would actually cease calls to the funeral home or the family. And I actually did go through, like, when I was talking about the update, what I said was, like, I'm not going to tell you not to call the funeral home. And in fact, I gave them the information to do so they can verify themselves. But just bear in mind that it's a small funeral home. When I was speaking to them, there was like 2 of them working, for the most part. And, they can't handle hundreds of calls. So, like, I don't have the technology at the moment to record a call to do it. Maybe one of you guys do, and you can show it. But I can promise you, if you do call them, you will get your confirmation. But just be careful. Like, they are, there's lots of stuff going down in Quebec right now. Things are really busy there, and you got to be just bear that in mind. And I just think, like honestly, John, just think about it. Like, if you had released the information on Kane federally, like, if you just said that, even you didn't even like these people didn't even need to release the call. Had they said Kane federally at the time, they could have just went to the website and would have shown, right? So I don't think that the family needs to be contacted, even if you were trying to find the truth for yourself. Had the name of that funeral home been released, you'd be able to see it, and you can prove it. And to be honest, I think the vast majority of Jeff's fans would not approve of anybody trying to harass his family had the proof been there. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have. Only like the small minority of the people here that are nut jobs, like I'm talking a very small amount of people would actually do that. And it certainly wouldn't be like the big names and things like that, because I think they would have been shamed into oblivion. Yeah, that's another thing, John. Like when I called them, they were able to give information, but I haven't seen anything like first off, can I ask you a question while you're here? Do you know who posted the obituary? And I'll let the time pass so you can get that. Yeah, can we get a little clarification on who owns that website too? Okay. All right. Yeah, I would like to have a chat with you, because I think I came off pretty harsh on you, and I didn't. I'm angry at this whole situation. Essentially, what I'm thinking is that I think you seem like a really smart and astute guy. You're a good researcher to confirm. I'm not saying that what you say even has merit. I'm just saying that it seems like you have a blind spot. And I think that you made one of your biggest mistakes, aside from giving Red Pill the tip off of that, would be thinking that you can control these people, right? You can't. And I think the Streisand effect took hold on this situation at the worst possible time. We have this great reset crap. We, like you were saying, Quebec's in lockdown. That's probably foreshadowing of other places. It's just that Quebec's a little bit more authoritarian in the first place. It's like a test run kind of thing. There's so much to be talking about right now, but here we are still dwelling on this and trying to verify what could have been verified weeks ago. And I'm not saying it's you. I meant what I said, that it goes beyond me. It goes beyond you. And yes, I know nobody's perfect. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not. I think I was too harsh when I said that it was shameful what you did. I don't think your intentions were false. I don't think your intentions were wrong. I think that you trusted people whose intentions are not what they claim to be. And I think that the more you look into these things, the more you look into these guys, their behavior, especially how Red Pill treated, that Red Pill was always trying to one up Jeff, always talk about more subs, all these kind of things, and it seems very. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I definitely had a beef with him because I strongly believe he was a narcissist. I think that speaks for itself. I think. Did you ever? Well, first example. Have you ever tried to disagree with Jeff and continue to disagree with Jeff? You know what happens, right? And you're always trying. Like, I remember always walking on eggshells with these guys, right? So, yeah, that was my problem. I didn't feel free to do my own work. When we had a culmination point, a lot had to do with the We'll Do It Live network. Like, we were talking about creating like a network, and like together and doing different things, possibly even making it a business. But yes, his narcissism was not only part of his charm, but it's what allowed a lot of people to start saying, you know what, I don't believe this stuff. Okay, so I'm not. You gotta, John. I'm not. I'm not trying. I'm not here to bash Jeff. All right, I promise. If you go through that video where you commented, I promise you, like, there was a time where I idolized this guy, and I still respect a lot of the things that he did. It was his personality that kind of pushed through to this stuff, and I think that, you know, he was a good contributing factor to an awakening of sorts in many ways. I think that it also had its problems, but it is what it is, man. You know, I'm not trying to bash him. Just, if you listen to my recent ones, it's a lot more clear than, like, you know, when I was still quite shaken up from the breakup of the narcissistic abuse, I guess, like, you know, like, so I think the more you watch, you'll know I'm not trying to bash him. In fact, I got to tell you, I am disgusted at what is happening in his name, and how he's being, possibly, like, his death is being used for selfish purposes, not by you, but from what I'm seeing from many other people, it's very clear. I think someone's using him, and I think even a narcissist deserves better. He was much better at sticking to what he thought he could prove, right, than a lot of all these other peoples. Yeah, no, yes. So I met him. I am going to make a 1-minute video saying how I met him, how I know him, and when I did. I met him once in person, but I also, during the 2014, 2013, or 2014 and 2015, we were working together a lot, like a ton. And so, yeah, I did become quite close to him. I was like at one point, I was like a secondhand man kind of thing. And I would consider that I was possibly his equivalent to Goebbels. Because, like, I did a lot of bad things, I guess, trying to defend him. I've gone through it before. Maybe, I tell you what. Well, we did have a falling out. Yeah. No, I'm not. I've never like gone against that. But I'm telling you that I'm glad that we fell out, because if you look at the totality of the videos I've made, I think it speaks to the legitimacy of the problem of what's going on right now regarding people withholding information from his death. I think that it speaks to a lot of legitimacy into how this was able to happen. Okay. So, yeah, like, you know, like, step back in a way, like, just take a look at the totality of what I've done, you know? But yeah, going back to what I was saying, it really culminated because, like, we started making the We'll Do It Live network, which we did all agree on starting to do. And there was, I guess, a little bit of slack, or it wasn't getting done by the four of us. So Chrissy and I started making this, and, like, we had the codes ready so that everybody had it and stuff like that. So it wasn't like we were trying to, like, you know, break off or anything like that. But we would start doing all these shows. Just a second, I gotta close the door. I'll be right back. It's okay, kitty. Don't worry. There's a kitty right there, and he came in, he opened the door. I don't want to bother people. So, yeah, so basically with the We'll Do It Live thing, there was a breaking point where, like, Chrissy and I were doing a lot of work for this, and we felt like what we had talked about before was being ignored. But we kept going and stuff like that. And it was being ignored by Jeff and whatever. And it was only until, like, we had, like, good guests on was when he wanted to jump in. And so he was around, he was watching, you know, like, but it was only when, like, there was someone with some thunder or whatever in here that he wanted to kind of contribute, right? So it came to a head, and it came to a head. Yeah, sorry. I'll tell you what. I'll just get to how I see the history of events. It came to a head like we were worried about what was going on. That we weren't being appreciated, I guess. And then there was a decision that it was like, yeah, let's just stop this. And then I was like, you know what, man? Like, we did a lot of work on this, and this was something that we had talked about. And the flashpoint was that he said something to Chrissy that was like very dismissive, like something, one of her concerns he called just like trivial or silly. And it was like what we were worried about for a lot. And once he said that, I was like, you just completely dismissed everything we said. And no, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And that was like, I flipped out actually. I didn't really know how to handle it. It all kind of came to a flashpoint, and I just lost it. And then at that point I was like, I can't continue this kind of thing. But again, like, I know that I'm not without fault with this. Like, I'm not saying that I'm perfect here. I'm a human. I can err. But bear in mind, I'm not trying to trash the guy. I'm trying to show that with narcissism comes cults. That's a given. You see it in Mormonism, like we were talking about. You see it in Jehovah's Witnesses. You see it in communism. And you see it in families even. Like a family with a narcissist at the head is essentially a family cult. There's no questioning to be done and stuff like that. Let me get back to what Chrissy was saying. I'm going to chop for 1 second while I go back, because I think she was disagreeing about something. I don't want to ignore it. No, we started like that, and then Jeff and others just like never went on with the plan we all agreed on. Thank you. Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I thought you were like disagreeing with what I said. Maybe I missed something. But yes, that's what it was. Like I remember exactly where I was. Like, I was in a park in Saint-Anselme, or however you want to pronounce it, down in like Quebec City. And I remember talking about it very clearly. Like, we were going to start a network. Some of it would possibly get monetized. We would do what we can to get as much reach as possible by creating a variance of shows. And we agreed that this would be the thing. We started it up because they were like kind of dragging their feet on it, but we were like, listen, they're bigger content creators. They do a lot of stuff, and we get that, right? So like, we were just like, maybe they're just a little bit busy. We went ahead, made the stuff, I think we gave them the codes anyways, but they just ignored it. They ignored it. But once it started picking up steam, Jeff kind of wanted the kibosh on it. Chrissy, if you can remember something that I don't, please put it in chat. He put the kibosh on. He made it clear that it was like, we got to stop using the We'll Do It Live name. It was like, we just worked on this for months. If you had a problem with it, you should have just said it beforehand. Like, don't tell us to stop doing this now. So yeah, I think that's because it's been 5 years, and like, bearing in mind that it came to a flashpoint, I lost my mind at him over it. Like, he did not understand what was going on. Like, I freaking lost it at him. So I was quite emotional at that point. So maybe the details a little hazy. Chrissy's got a pretty dang good memory, so she'd probably be able to. Yeah. He made it out that we couldn't use it and that we stole the name. Okay, so that's even more. That's even more damning. Yeah. It was a gaslighting technique. I think that's what it was. And I was just like, I'm not taking this anymore. Screw this, man. And like, I didn't even care if he was saying it to me, but once he said something to Chrissy, am I wrong on that, Chrissy? Once he said something that you said was trivial, I was just like, no. And by the way, guys, I realized I was doing the one eye thing. I wasn't trying to. But yeah, that's how it came to a flashpoint. But listen, there was only like one point, John, where there was like maybe a week in there, and Chrissy can attest to this too, because she was there with me through the whole 9 yards of what I was feeling or whatever. Like, there was a week in there where I just didn't quite understand how someone could do this, and I really did hate him. And then luckily enough, I came along some video, and I wasn't looking for anything. It was just by total chance. But you know what? I'm going to say it was an act of God. and I saw this video that went through the 9 points of narcissism, and I like watching it. I was just like, this is like half of my life, just including Jeff, like to a T. Oh my gosh. Like, so once you start researching the narcissism and stuff, you realize that he's not just doing this to hurt you. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with that. In fact, it's that he can do nothing else. It's a tortured soul, and you can't hate a tortured soul, right? And it was very. Of course, I wasn't. I probably, and like I said earlier, I probably wouldn't have Discord with him now, except like, let's say that this was theoretically blackmail and he's alive. I'd probably team up with him right now to say, you know what? Let's get these a-holes. You know what I mean? I probably would do that. But anything other than that, I probably would not have Discord with him, because I know that it just wouldn't work, right? Yes, John, but where I will sharply disagree with you is that narcissism should be a disqualification for leadership. Okay? Jeff was not a leader. Yes, many people saw him as a leader. Yes, he says he's a leader, or he thought of himself as a leader. But in fact, he was the opposite, because as you admit, he is a narcissist. They are pathological. They don't have the ability to not react in a certain way. And if you understand narcissism, you know that pathology, and you know how to, if you're good, if you're a psychopath, or you have a job to do, you can use that to your benefit to such an extent that Jeff could be completely controlled, as if he was a shill, could theoretically, as if he was a shill, but I certainly don't believe he ever was. I think Jeff was very legit. So, I mean, you can keep saying that. I get it, y'all have beef and you want to dismiss it, but I don't think that's quite as unbiased as you were saying that you were, because I think I've explained it quite well as to, I don't hate him. I think that the mentality to have him as a leader is dangerous, despite the positive caveats. And I think that we're seeing the culmination of that today with his loss, because you have this inner circle that doesn't know what to do, like this inner circle that was around him that has no clue what to do now. Like they all had, things kind of set up, right? And now their leader's gone. Who's going to replace them? KJ is not Jeff. Let's get back to agreeing that Jeff had loyalty of thousands of people. These people that have made clickbait for years, they don't have this same kind of thing, right? Abidon, how do you know that TMF grievings is not severe? Yeah. I mean, like, yes, you can hide behind plausible deniability all the time. I know that from what I've seen, all the observances that show me is that it is not sincere. I would go to the times that he cries, and then he goes back to sounding exactly normal within 30 seconds. Twice in one video. That would be a good little tip off, but not proof. I understand. I think that if you listen to him constantly berate Jeff in the older videos about what he has that Jeff doesn't, I think that's a really good factor. And I think the TransAsia ordeal, I think it's quite clear that he chose something that was basically, there was no way to defend that position very well. And Jeff did not like saying things that were clearly false just for the sake of getting views. That was what was cool about Jeff. He didn't put up with that. I think you mentioned that too with the what do you call it? The Transasia thing. Like, it's just, it looked like the only reason why he did it is because Jeff was saying, you're a fool if you do. And then so he said, you know what? No. And then he changed his name to something that was much closer to Jeff's. Yeah. I mean, you can go through the totality of what I was saying there in the past, in this one and the one from yesterday. And I think it's a good case. I think there is the plausible deniability that he is not what I'm saying. I think he is certainly trying to use that. Not necessarily with me, but just you'll see it in the way that the inner circle of Jeff and TMF will now start going against each other. You'll see that. You'll see it. It's not even about me. It's like, it's now they're fighting over resources. I'm not really a threat. Like, not in the same extent. Transasia was a plane that crashed in some Asian country. There was some crazy good footage of it. Yeah, one that believed it and one that believed it was CGI. Yeah. I mean, like, it was one of those things that it didn't matter any other way. Whether it was, thank you, Casey. Thank you. This was BS. It was a fabrication. That's my impression of it. What does one gain from proving that this is fake? What does one gain from proving that this is real? Why is this so important? And the answer is, it wasn't. There was no end game. It was just stupidity, and I think it was intentionally put in. Not by Jeff. Again, for all my problems with Jeff, I think he was as real as he could be as a narcissist. Hope that helps. Quick reminder, just put @Avidan, so or at least just put in my name just so that it highlights for me and I don't miss your question. So Jeff thought it was real. TMF thought it was fake. Yes. Yeah. The jump the shark moment for the truth movement. I think it was phase 1 of a psyop against you. I don't think it was just a jump the shark. I think it was phase 1 of a psyop, because you notice that Flat Earth came in right after. Didn't take long before you had this, what looked to me to be an intentional attempt to divide this movement, because we were uncovering things that were really putting a dent in their plan. Listen, these psyops, the hoaxes were important to them because they pushed off. They were able to get guns, or do all this stuff, right? So let's just start talking about BS theories, like, is the Earth flat? These are, like, bear in mind, what do they all have in common, aside from, if you could prove it, aside from just proving the lie itself? They served no purpose. They didn't. Whereas the hoaxes did. Right? Like, they took away rights and stuff like that. What does it matter if a plane's fake? But why? And I get the whole thing that it's like when the CIA says, like, we know our work is complete when everything that the public believes is false. I get that. There is that. But most people didn't care. The only people that cared were the truth movement. So that's what tells me that this was intentional. They had to do something to stop people like Jeff. And that's why I don't necessarily think Jeff, I think he's passed, yes, but I don't think it's necessarily due to natural causes, especially considering the whole coincidence that it's a brain aneurysm and other people that are against a great reset have just suffered them as well. Well, the ones that died anyways. Dr. Dre had one and lived. Just the coincidence, the ones that's like one of the biggest shills. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. Am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Jay-Z. He's like confirmed chill, right? Whereas, like, I don't know about Dr. Dre. I haven't looked into that. It's my next rabbit hole. Why not? Cool. So yeah, John. Listen. On that, there's a live chat that I have. Just one sec. Okay. That's the live chat. On there is my email as well. You can send me an email, and once I get my hardware figured out here, I would like to have a maybe a chat about this, because I think your intentions are good, at least in my opinion, and there's some stuff to discuss. And I think it would be great. That link goes to what is like a bunker chat. Listen, John, I strongly believe that the Discord that you were telling me about and the YouTube chat that the moderator's running, Jeff's old chat, I think they're just banning anybody that questions these guys. They're using the pretense that we're kooky conspiracy theorists or whatever. It's a live stream, but it's never going to go live. So it's just used as a chat room. Yeah, I think that the people who control the Discord and or a lot of people that do, and the Bone Broth chat, I think that they delete comments that expose that they're trying to profit off of Jeff's death. I believe many of them are trying to profit off of Jeff's death, and they're not allowing anybody to discuss anything that gets near that topic. I don't like that. By the way, they'll call you a shill if you don't completely agree with them, right? Listen, I don't think you're a shill. Hey, maybe you could be. I gotta get that the obligatory thing in there, but no, I think you seem genuine to me, and I would like to talk to you more. Yeah, and check out that chat too. Usually I go for a little tiny break right after the show. Then I come back and we can, chill, all that kind of stuff. It's a good place to go. And even if I think you're a shill, I want you to go there. I want you to go there. I like when the shills go there. It's fun to observe. It's fun to observe. Observe, don't react. Observe, don't react. It's always the best policy when it comes to dealing with narcissism. I'm going to do a last call for any questions or anything like that. I did extend it because the conversation got very good. The questions got very good, and I always appreciate you guys because I'm impressed. I think we're hitting some subjects that are, they're philosophical, they're of events, they're finally getting back to a topic of truth and fiction, and I think it's good that people are able to chat freely, even if they disagree. There's been far too much of the crap, for lack of a better word, where people are like, you can't disagree with me or else. I think it's not fair to anybody. And we got to get back to the free flow of information and understanding the importance of, if someone has a bad idea, give it a microphone. You don't try and cover it up and let the Streisand effect take hold. You want to give it a microphone. Trust that the plurality of people are going to see it for what it is, a really bad idea. And I don't think, even if they didn't, I don't think you can control it. I think that fighting against it, for example, with the flat earth, Jeff fighting against it and fighting against the people that pushed it only rose that issue as more plausible. I think it only helped to grow the idea, which I consider to be a hoax. Like, it's intentionally meant to divide us. It's okay if you don't, but I think it is. I think had we not been so harsh on it, it wouldn't have snowballed so fast. Okay? I think we just gotta realize that no one person can hold information. There's been how many regimes that have happened over the course of history, be it that has had its crucible, that has come down and imploded in on itself because of the very control mechanisms that they thought would help it survive. So, for example, the Holy Roman Empire and the extent by which the Vatican had control over it. When Luther and the printing press is the more important part, maybe. right? Because it was able to spread all this information. But when Luther plus that came out, this caused such a major problem for the Vatican that they had to initiate the Jesuit order to try and clamp down on all of it. And this caused like this whole, and Luther himself, he was him saying, I won't believe you. Here's where I stand. I'm not going to do anything else. Save God strikes me down. Like essentially is what he said. That started basically 100-year war in Europe. It burned Europe. It's, another example is the Chernobyl thing, right? Like they were controlling information so much that the scientists themselves didn't understand the anatomy of the fusion chamber or whatever you call it, right? They didn't realize that the pistons or whatever for the reaction was tipped with graphite, which was what created their initial explosion. They didn't even know that was there because it was too cheap. You've probably seen the Chernobyl thing, but what I'm trying to get at is that there's a massive amount of examples throughout history that if you might succeed to a certain extent that you can control information, but sooner or later it's going to crash down on you. There's nothing you can do about that. And I think the less you try to control information, or the more you try to control information, the more problems you end up running into. My real name is Justin. I took up the name Avi, me either. Justin, Avi, Avidan, whatever. Totally fine. It's cool. Remember when Jeff wanted us to do the Flat Earth show and debate exactly. And we all didn't want to because we all knew that we didn't know enough to do it. And it was a disaster. It was a disaster. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and also the Flat Earth thing, look up Samuel Robotham. Parallax. This has been proved at that point 150 years ago that these people are going to exist and you're not going to be able to disprove them for some people. The writing was already on the wall. They were rolling out a 150-year-old plan. And we bought it. We bought it. But I do remember. Yeah, it was incredibly incompetent because I think what made it more incompetent was just that we thought we thought that would be the end of it then. Well, no, you just brought a spotlight on top of it. And just, it unleashed pandemonium. Sorry that Jeff went to the hospital. I don't know. At this point, I know that COVID has also caused a lot of surgeries and appointments for X-rays, specializations, things like that. A lot of these are being shut down for the time being because of the coof at which you have a 99.98 chance, or I don't think it's 99.98. I think it's more like 99.8 or something like that, depending on your age. And now we all have to, nothing else can be done. Like screw cancer, or screw trying to detect cancer, or, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we've shut down because this thing is just upended everything. And I think Chrissy also mentioned something about the narrative being controlled by a bunch of CCP agents. So here's why. Let me mention how I think this works. I don't think China is the head of all of this. What I think it is that China is the best example, right? So we talk about multilateralism, or for the more common word being globalism, right? But the way it seems to be is that China is not really the head, but they're the example of what needs to be done. And because they're such a hub for transportation and all that kind of stuff, like they can be the centralizing force that can put everything else in line when the gloatsies take over. Like they're the example of what they want everybody to be. So what is more likely to happen rather than just pure multilateralism would be a sinocentric multilateralism. So like we're all controlled, right? We're all controlled. It's just that because China's ahead on the crazy commie horse crap, they will, and they're also really big, they will be a centralization force of sorts. I've just repeated myself, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. Oh, kitty, it's okay. It's okay, kid. Yeah, and you can't, yeah, you won't get records of a lot of stuff, especially in Quebec, because of their civil law as opposed to common law. It's very different there, and it is based on a little bit more authoritative action. In history, isn't poison the Jesuit preferred message? Yeah, so there's the cup of Borgia is what is known to be considered like the Jesuit kill of choice. I mean, listen, they'll do what they need to do, but the cup of Borgia, for those Breaking Bad fans, they were referring to the cup of Borgia, in my opinion. So they used ricin, and what makes ricin so effective is that you can control its effects. If you wanted to kill someone quick, you can do that with I think it's a high dose. If you do a smaller dose, it'll still kill them, but they're going to suffer. They're going to suffer hard and potentially for weeks before they die. Ricin is a very disgusting thing. I think they also use antimony as a poison, but it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I read this, but they do like to poison. But if they don't have to kill somebody, they don't, like, think of the Borg. If you ever watch Star Trek, they're not going to target you if you're not a threat to them. They are there to subvert, and maybe the Borg's a little bit more overt about it, but they're there to infiltrate and take over. That's what they like doing. That's where they get their kicks, really. The Borgia, the couple Borgia, if you want to look into probably the most interesting example of the cup of Borgia, I want to say it was Pope Clement XIV that banned the Jesuits somewhere in the 1700s. And he died. They don't say he was poisoned in the report, but there is also like the quotes of him saying, like, I knew they would do this to me, and I just didn't know that it would be so cruel. You can look that up. He tried to get rid of the Jesuits. They all went into hiding, but they made sure that he got his due. And then I'm pretty sure the next pope reinstated them. I'm not sure if it was the 14th. It was somewhere in that range, 12, 13, 14th. It's an interesting story. Check it out. Yeah, anyone can research, and you don't need to wait on anyone to show up. But Chrissy, if you look up if we're talking about Jeff's death, I'm sorry if I didn't catch this. I'll send you some of the emails that I received. Like, people were right up until a week ago, people were like, what's going on? I don't know what's, like, why are people withholding this information? And yeah, I understand, like, John gave his reasoning for it. And I'm not, while I believe his intentions, I'll take the benefit of the doubt on the intentions there. I don't think that it's the same for everybody. And I think they were using it against people to deny closure. I think maybe there's a few different things going on, we have a psyop in play that needs people to be lone wolves. Remember how freaked out some people were about, like after the Capitol thing, and like, they're all worried, they got to go up in arms and stuff like that. I think this plays right into that whole thing. Like they want you to go crazy over this. They don't want you to expose any of this, and if they get really lucky, they can get a couple lone shooters out of you or something. In Minecraft, YouTube. Yeah, watch everyone. Don't stick with one group. Don't get involved in a group. Don't do it. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Does the Vatican control the CDC? Here's how I look at it. It's a bunch of different groups. It's not just the little hats, not just the Vatican, it's not just the factions within the Vatican. Number one, it's not just the EU, it's not just Davos, it's not just the Bilderberg Group, yada 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 yada. These are factions, just like the TMF and Inner Circle thing. And there's a big mud hill, and they're all trying to run to the top. And they do work together because they want to keep the big mud hill, at the end of the day. But they're there, and they all want to be at the top. Do I believe the Pope was arrested? I believe I want to see it. I don't think that there was any proof that he wasn't. I think, like, I found it interesting. He was like, what? He just did a video. He was like, yeah, good. Okay, good job. And it was only him speaking, and there was nobody around. There's no proof of what day that was. So don't. Yeah, I don't. I didn't like necessarily disbelieve it either. I saw what happened on that live stream through the Vatican. Yeah, if you don't mind, thumbs up this video, because it does. I think that there's a lot of important information in this that could help a lot of people, and it shows to me that the more it's liked, the more it can spread to an extent. The Vatican is run by little hats cloaked. Yeah, I've heard that theory about the Muranos and Loyola, and maybe there's some other theories on it. I think it could be the case, but I think when you look at Loyola's history, it's we were just talking about how Joseph Smith, like, he had like his knee basically scooped out, his knee marrow or whatever. Knee marrow, you know what I'm trying to say. Part of his knee was scooped out. Loyola was actually the same thing. He was a soldier, and in war he had a cannonball basically like blow out his leg so it couldn't be functional anymore. So he was no longer a soldier. He really wanted to be a soldier, and basically his life was taken from him, and so he became a soldier of God, and that's what they call themselves now. Do the last 5 minutes there now. We'll clue this up. Reminds me of that QAnon thing that said everyone was going to be arrested in Trudeau. Oh, I do wish that was the case. I do wish it, and that could be a play on it. I gotta say, I tend to believe it. I tend to hope that it's the case, because there's no other hope, I think, that I see right now. It's a long crawl out of this, man. It's a long, long crawl out of this. But here's another thing. I'm very surprised. I've said this before. I'm very surprised that you guys have flatly rejected Q, because listen, if you go through those posts, they're talking about false flag events. They're talking about all this stuff. Yeah, I know. Not everybody sees the narcissist, and that's okay. That's okay, Purple Haze. I can attest that knowing him, you can tick off basically every DSM-4 criteria that makes a narcissist, with the exception of maybe one being off. Maybe being off. He's basically everyone on the list. Again, not trying to hurt the guy. We need to be able to talk about. Yeah, half the deception of Q is sprinkling the real stuff, and that very well could be the case. And it certainly is playing on the hopes of like the patriot movement. Certainly is. Whether or not it's for good purposes or bad purposes, I don't know. To be fair, we have to be like, to me, would you consider Q to be confusion? Because the posts can be very confusing, and they can be very ambiguous. Ambiguous is the word. They can be very ambiguous, and you can take whatever it is that you want out of it. And my reading of the Bible tells me that God is one of order, not confusion. So there's that. They would have to they have a lot of explaining to do. Let's say if they are legit, and this all turns out to be the case, they have a lot of explaining to do. Yeah, in a lot of ways, Q is what's going on with Jeff right now, diversion. Yeah, but at the same time, I do see a great awakening. I think it was a really good thing to see that analytic shift. We're now looking at a majority majority women in this movement. Before it, Chrissy can attest, she was like 1 out of every 10. The girls were like, literally, it was that bad. The analytics were disgusting. I was like, well, at least I'm not looking for a girlfriend here. It's just like, because there was like none. It got better over time though, and I think that speaks to an awakening of sorts that maybe Q is trying to control. Yeah, 1 out of 40. Yeah, like I'm not sure if the analytics were quite that bad when I went through them back in the day, but they were bad. Like I do remember there being like, it could have been as bad as 9-to-1 ratio, at least on my viewership. Maybe, listen, guys, I know these dimples, they might pull in a couple extra girls. I get that, but but the numbers were bad. Let's put it that way. In 2015, I think there's a lot less shame that's involved with it, and it's a good sign. It's a good sign. Mountain Gal says, my advice to everyone, including myself, was to be raw and vulnerable with those around you. Or maybe best to be raw and vulnerable. It can be life-changing for some. Maybe. And hey, guys, for those that are just jumping in, you kind of caught the tail end. I'm just pretty much finishing up now. But am I going to take the vaccine? No. I'm not a big fan of that one. Let's just put it that way. And for all those coming in, F3 and stuff like that, the way they kept us hanging, TMF and others, I have expected Jeff to drop an explanation video and he'd be back. Yeah, I got to say that when I first started looking at this evidence, the lack of proof shown made me question whether or not this was something like there was a feud on the inside, a feud with Jeff and his fans, like how he reacted over TransAsia. He got a lot of flack from his fans over that, so he took a hiatus. I was thinking that was like the case, or maybe he was like blackmailed and this was his way to dip. That's what I was thinking, but the more I look at it is that we see that he has truly passed and people are trying to monetize or gain personally from it, along with people who believe that it's in their best interest to protect his family and privacy and stuff like that, even if that is the antithesis of everything that Jeff stood for. Personally, I do think it's an insult to him to try and, in a way, hard to, it's a big mind scramble there on that. But along with that, there's also people trying to shape this narrative. I think there are Antifa in here. I think you got to bear this in mind. Why would Antifa not be here? Why would they not be in here trying to shape everything as best that they can? I try not to read the thank yous too much because I don't want to pump my ego, but I think this one's important. Thank you for helping with the closure, man. It's all about, it's about accepting that he's gone regardless of what happened. Yes. This is what I said. The ones that are acting out of noble, self-perceived noble reasons, I just don't think that they quite see the suffering that has happened with so many people. And it needed to be addressed. So that's why, like, we can't just like say they're all shills. Okay, that's not. It's not about that. It's not about them. It's not about to an extent. It's not about Jeff. It's about what are we left with when people follow someone that couldn't be open with his fans, and then what happens when people try to take advantage of that, and we're left with a bunch of people who are hurt. So listen, we're all human. We can all err. So I'm not just saying anybody involved with that. So John, if you're still there, I take back when I said that what you did was shameful. I do think that you were trying to do the right thing, but I think that there are others, including ones that you contacted, that aren't, and it needs to be exposed. Any part I can play in that is going to be what I do. But I listen, man. I was wondering who this John guy was that everybody was talking about. I was like, man, I've never heard of John Friend from like that Jeff talked about. You know what I mean? So I was like, is this just some like MacGuffin they've made up? Some John guy? Like, is this an ex machina, kind of thing that they're just like using? So I'm glad you exist. I would like to talk to you more. Let's close this out. We're at 3 and 15 minutes. I'm sorry if I missed any questions. Feel free to go over to the chat that is pinned up at the top right there, and we can chat there. I usually take like a 10-minute break after these things, but there's usually at least the inner circle. there's a good few people in there now that really like chatting with each other. We have some great discussions too, and I think you'd like it a lot over there, or many of you would. So it'd be great to see it. And once I get my computer here or whatever, figure something out with the hardware, I'll start getting some better things, because I can start sharing screen and all that kind of things. So once again, guys, thank you very much for coming. Check out that live chat. If you feel obliged, you can always press that like button. Helps get this to more people so that they can get a better understanding of the inside of the Truth Cult. And I guess that's all. Take care. Thank you very much. Read your Bibles.